Welcome everybody to Safari Live, the magnificent Djuma and Arathusa game reserves here in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. My name's Hayden Turner, Andrew on camera this afternoon. What a pleasure it is to be here. We just stopped because we saw this white-backed vulture up in this tree here, so we are going to go and investigate into that a little bit more. If it's your first time with us, welcome. This is the biggest safari vehicle on the planet and you're all aboard. This is an experience where we interact with you. You can ask us questions through hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter or questions@wildearth.tv on email. It'd be lovely to hear from you. It's great, and if you're a regular viewer, welcome back. There's so many wonderful people out there that have given me a great welcome back this morning, so thank you to everyone. What a cracking day here. 26 degrees centigrade or Celsius and about 78 Fahrenheit. It was quite cold this morning. We all had our jackets on. It's turned out to be a really lovely afternoon, and still a little bit of cloud cover, and we're just going to tootle around here and see what we can see. Pete's out on the other side of the reserve, which we'll catch up with him very soon, but I just wanted to check out what was going on here. Now, this bird could be sitting here for any reason. It could be just resting. It could be that there is a kill somewhere there. We're not really sure, but we are going to drive up very, very slowly. He may fly off. But at the moment I'm just going to sort of check out the area. I was looking through the binoculars before we went live, and I can't see anything on the ground, and I can't see any other vultures either. So we're just going to gently go up there. Now, vultures, most of you would probably know that they're a great indicator species for behaviour that's happening around. They've got incredible eyes in the sky, and it is really the bush telegraph. They will pick up signs of another animal or animals reacting to a kill or something like that. When they're soaring, they've got incredible eyesight. Wingspan, these guys up to about 2.6 meters, which is about 8-9 feet wide, which is an absolutely incredible expanse. But I'm going to just go up a little bit closer. We'll just see what happens. It could be just that he is resting, and there's no thermals for him at the moment. The wind is very, very light, but you should be seeing a few more if there was a kill. So we'll just gently go up here. Very, very skittish birds, vultures, and we've just got to be a little bit gentle here. He probably will fly, but I'll get a little bit closer for Andrew to get a better shot. How's that, mate? It is a little bit of a silhouetted shot at the moment, but I'll just stop for you there so we get just a little bit better a look at him. Really beautiful bird. Vultures play a huge role in the ecosystem. You know, they are scavengers, and they will be looking for a meal and to clean up anything they possibly can. They've got exceptional ability to clean a carcass very quickly, but this bird by itself, it looks like to me he is resting, or she for this matter. I can't quite see from here. I'll pull him up on my app, on my bird app in a minute. Just want to gently go, and the whole idea is when you are viewing wildlife anywhere, this slowly approach is really important. The whole idea is for us to try and not change their behaviour. If we can get a little bit closer, I do have to drive past him, so he may tolerate us or he may take off. A little bit closer here. It's just about to fly off now. That was inevitable. Because the road does go right past, but he will find another tree to perch on just across the way there. Just keeping our eyes open here though. There would probably be more perched in trees around, and as I said, very, very skittish. They will wait until one makes the initial move, and once one goes in and gets the courage, they'll the rest of them will follow, and then that incredible feeding frenzy happens, and they can clean a carcass in such a short amount of time. They've got fantastic barbs on their tongue as they rip off with that incredibly sharp beak a piece of meat. Those barbs pull the meat back into their mouth very, very quickly. The other thing that's really interesting, if they do fill their crop very, very quickly and they get so heavy that they can't take off, which you do see sometimes after they've gorged themselves, they will regurgitate their food so they can get away from a predator. Because lions will take them on, hyenas will take them on if they're annoying a lion pride or someone on a kill. But I can't see anything around, and there is no other birds. So that individual is probably just resting there, and he's just gone right across the other side there. I can see on another treetop. So they will get that fantastic elevated spot. They're just a great bird to see. I do love my raptors, and as the guys have built the whole team has built a fantastic bird list over the last year. Can you believe it? We've been doing this now for 12 months here on Nat Geo Wild. It's just been an incredible experience, and what an incredible team has been built over time. Very, very proud to be a part of it. Incredible team of presenters, incredible team of technical expertise, direction from everyone in final control, and all right down to all of the people that look after our camp and look after us and make sure that we can get out here and do this twice a day. So it's a fantastic thing to be back. And I'm just going to head down to a little area I love called Sandy Patch, and we are starting to see the first sort of impala lambs dropping, which is a fantastic time because that will start to increase over the next 2 or 3 weeks, month. And I'm just going to have a little trickle down here and have a look. But you know what, let's cross to Pete and see what he's up to, and I'll come back to you guys just now.
Well, good afternoon everyone from other vehicle out here. My name is Peter Pretorius. Looking forward to the rest of this afternoon. It's perfect weather-wise, nice and relatively speaking cool. And also it's my first time on the vehicle with 76, 78. Oh, sorry, I missed that. Okay, sorry guys. We sort of first day today, H and myself, just catching up with everything, and just getting some information there from the control room from Tara and Nikki. Nice impalas here. I know Hayden was saying he's going to look around this afternoon for female impala. We're all hoping to see one maybe have a lamb. We are in the sort of the throes of lambing season now. It should be starting, a lot very soon. The last 3 or 4 days, the odd lamb has been spotted. So that would be great to see. Hayden's going to look around for that in the Sandy Patch area. I'm just slowly heading towards Aratuza direction, but I was in the process of telling you that this is my first time on drive with Jean-Ray behind the camera, and it's going to be fun. I've seen some of Jean-Ray's stills images. Obviously I've seen lots of his film work. He's a great guy to work with as well, so it's nice to spend some time in the vehicle, Jean-Ray. I won't always make such a long thing about it, but it's awesome to be on the drive with you. And as I said, I've seen Jean-Ray's still images as well, and he's a very good photographer, obviously very good with camera. So looking forward to seeing the artistic aspect as well, the compositional aspect, and also just getting to know each other on the vehicle. It's always a nice relationship to explore. So that's a little highlight for me this afternoon. I have a new hat. Came from the UK. Thank you, Hayden, brought it along. And for those of you that have been on drive with me for a long time, I used to have a favorite hat that was almost exactly this. So now that I found it again, it took me a long time. I'm probably going to get 10 or 20 of them, and then I don't have to worry about hats again ever. So that's another little small thing. On the big things, it's a beautiful afternoon. As I said, it's that sort of almost perfect summer temperature. There's a bit of a breeze. It's hot enough that you sweat, but cool enough with the breeze that it's just nice and refreshing almost. The beautiful, I've said beautiful 10 times now, but it really is a beautiful afternoon. The rain we've had over the last few days is starting to turn the bush into this lovely sort of lawn-like look. And what a road to drive down. We're going to show you the views down there just now towards the horizon. Impala. bush into this lovely sort of lawn-like look. And what a road to drive down. We're going to show you the views down there just now towards the horizon. Impala, kudu there in the back. Sometimes I might do something like this. Okay, now it's walking, but like this leave in the foreground would be nice to give you like a depth perception, and I'll try and position it so it gives you a nice shot. Well, welcome back. Disappeared there for a bit. We are fine-tuning and tweaking and always trying to improve things building up to Big Cat Week, so don't worry, this is not something that'll be a concern later on, but lost you there for a bit. We are back, we've moved slightly. Beautiful view of one of my favorite antelopes. Kudus, as I started saying just before we lost you. Kudus are one of the most striking, stunning, regal antelope out here. Absolutely beautiful. This is a big male. He's in his prime. He will be one of the main contenders in the next rutting season, which is next winter, so about 6 months from now. Long spiral horns, beautiful markings on the back. And of course, Kudus are browsers. This is a perfect example. For those of you that joined us this morning on the AM safari or the sunrise safari, I know James was talking about browsing and grazing. And browsing means they eat leaves. You can see lots of green leaves here, foreground, background, far in the bush, close by. This is a perfect place for a browser, lots of good food. And then you get animals that are also omnivores. So you get herbivores, things that eat plants, and that could be broken up into browsers like kudu, mixed feeders like the impala on the back that you can just see moving through there. Zebras, for instance, are grazers. But then you get omnivores, things that eat anything. We humans, generally speaking, are omnivores. I mean, there's a few that specify how they eat, but generally speaking, as a species, we're omnivores. Baboons, for instance, are omnivores. Jackals are omnivores. One animal that is an omnivore that people don't always realize, in other words, they will eat meat if opportunity is there, is a warthog. People don't always know that. Pigs as well. If they have the opportunity to get protein, they'll eat it. And speaking of warthogs, Hayden's going to tell you a bit more about them. We're going to continue on and see you back here in a bit.
Well folks, this is quite a lovely little encounter here, because often we see warthog and we stop and they stop and we turn the engine off and they run for their lives. There's this funny little thing, they look tough and that whatnot, but they actually can be really, really skittish. These two particular individuals are so chilled with us here, and we just thought, what a fantastic little sighting. So we've pulled over and we're really just enjoying these guys eating and just grazing our way here. These are strictly diurnal, these creatures, so you will find that we're basically not seeing them any time after dusk. They find refuge in a burrow. It could be an excavated aardvark hole or old hyena den, and they'll have a series of those holes around the place in their territory, which they will then end up going into in moments of danger. And it just depends on what area they're in and how many around, but they'll move around them frequently. And the predators, I mean, everything, hyena even will hunt these, cheetah, leopard, lion, they all love, and wild dog they all love. But they do have a pretty serious bit of weaponry, and you can see those tusks. Andrew's just going to zoom in on those tusks, and they are pretty formidable weapons, so they do have to be very careful. A predator can get opened up very easily by one of those. Those tusks are used mainly for defense, but they will use them now and again to strip something off. They are grazing at the moment, but they have the ability to use that really hard shovel-like snout as well and dig up rhizomes or bulbs, depending on what season it is. There's a really funny thing too. I've seen the males sort of, you have a tendency to see a male out a little bit later than the females, which is interesting. They have a tendency to stay out after dark sometimes, but not for very long. But they're such great creatures, really, really comical, but at the same time very alert. And you can see them looking around, but having a great time on this new flush of grass that's come through. Just beautiful. So quiet here at the moment. It's just we really don't get to sit with warthogs this long. So I have to say, folks, it's a nice encounter. And I will just sit with them for a little bit longer because they normally just sprint. They're great, aren't they? We've got a question from Mischian in Dallas, Texas. Mischian, hi, how are you? Great to have you with us. Fantastic to have you on board. And a great question, what can I sort of compare a warthog for you to in weight and size? You're looking at a small pig, obviously in the swine family, and goodness, the females actually get bigger than some of the males. It's you do see females getting up to, just doing the conversion for you in my head. I obviously I work mainly in kilograms, but I've heard of records of up to 100 kilograms, so that's a little bit lighter than me, which is about, I think, about just over 210, 220 pounds. A really, really big female, but the males, up to about the weight of a small man, 70 kilograms odd, a woman, but which is what, compare that, I'm sorry, I'm doing my math here for you at the same time, 150 pounds maybe for the really, really big ones. So they get bigger than you think. It's a little bit difficult to get a comparison or something to compare it with there. About in inches at the shoulder, about 2 foot maybe, just a bit over. So it just really depends on the age and the size and the particular amount of food that they've got and how old they get to. But they get quite big, and they really do. Until you get up close to one, you don't realise how big they are. And they can definitely move. They really get up to speeds that are quite astounding. In an emergency situation where they had to run away, they'll get up to sort of 30 mile an hour for people working in miles, which is 50-ish kilometres per hour. And that's quite a speed, but they really, really run, and they can scoot through undergrowth or vegetation very, very quickly. And you've probably seen in either documentaries or potentially in the wild, that tail stands very erect, and all the other piglets or the pigs following will be able to see each other through the grass with that tail standing erect. Very comical, but it does have a fantastic function. Super, super animals. What a lovely, lovely encounter. What a super little encounter. So we've got a couple of questions if the female is pregnant. So I think it's Kitty, I couldn't quite, Steph and so Pretty Nightmare is saying she loves how they walk around on their knees, which is a function that they do to get down low and be able to use that shovel nose of theirs just to get down and dig through those tubers and graze comfortably. And Stephanie is asking if one of them is pregnant. There's a potential that one of them is pregnant, particularly this one. I'll just move up. I think this one up here could be. She's definitely got a round belly. There's definitely a potential of that, but we're not sure. We couldn't really give an answer on that. But what a lovely little encounter there, folks, eh? Great to have a warthog, a really great warthog encounter, because they do scoot very, very quickly. So the great thing about looking at wildlife when we're out, we do come across things when we're driving around, and it might be a skeleton, it might be some tracks or signs or some fur or feathers or something like that, and we collect things like that now and again because it's a very, very good educational tool. And I think there's a man in a tent that's got something to show you. I'll see you just now.
Good morning. No, it's not morning at all. It's afternoon. It's after 4 o'clock. It's morning somewhere in the world, I'm sure. So wherever you are in the world, if it happens to be morning there, good morning to you and good afternoon to the rest of you. My name is James Hendry. On camera we have Tebbs, and variously Scott Dyson as well will be joining us on camera today. Right, we have a few things to show you in this, the safari/savannah/quarantine clearing tent, and the first is a warthog skull. This, I believe, belonged to a warthog boar, and there would have been a boar, hopefully, in the group that you were looking at with Peter. I didn't look too carefully as to whether there was a boar there or not. And from here emanated the tusks, and the tusks are modified canines, which are these teeth here. Well, obviously mine aren't quite as long, but if sometimes it helps to have an analogy. So if you think of something like a leopard with the long teeth, that's what these are. These are the canines. It's the same thing. And very different from those of an elephant, of course, which are the incisors, which are the two front teeth here in an elephant. So different kind of teeth between the warthog and the elephant's tusks. The other interesting thing to note here, I think, is the size and amount of molar that they have. They don't have a huge amount of molar like an impala or a kudu or a buffalo, and I think that's because they're more omnivorous than those animals. They do eat lots of grass and tubers and that sort of thing, but they don't need to diet purely of grass, so they don't need to grind quite as much, and they certainly don't regurgitate their food like the herbivore, the ruminants do. Now, Now, interestingly, well, here we go. For Eleanor in Johannesburg, you wanted to know, how do they digest their food? Do they digest it like a cow does, a ruminant? No, they don't. The rumination is a very specific kind of digestive system that many animals have evolved, but they're in a separate order entirely. These are the part of a separate order of the cloven-hooved animals, and they are hindgut fermenters, much like I'm trying to think of another cloven-hooved hindgut fermenter. There aren't many actually, but similar to it's like a domestic pig. They don't regurgitate their food. It's not quite like a zebra or an elephant, which is they're true hindgut fermenters, but it's probably more like a hippopotamus, where there is a similar strategy to the digestion, but they don't regurgitate and re-chew their food like something like a ruminant would. So that's quite interesting. Now, while we're on this, I thought I'd just quickly show you a little microscope shot of this skull, and what we're going to do is put it over the top of a hole here, and this hole is from where a nerve would emanate. So we'll swap across to the microscope view now. Now we'll swap across to the microscope view. Final control to the microscope. A nerve hole. So nerves go in and out through these holes throughout the skull region, and you can see the little osteocytes, the places where I think those are osteocytes, where the bone will grow from. And I mean, obviously the skull is very old, and so it's starting to break up a bit now. Right, so that's the warthog skull. Now, the other thing I did want to show you, I'm going to have a quiz here. I'm not going to tell you what I'm looking at. I want you to look at this, please, on the microscope now, and have a guess at what this is. And then send through your answers, hashtag SafariLIVE or questions at WildEarth.tv. Tell me if you know what this is. A, and B, if you would put that in your mouth. Right, that's enough of that one. Let's come back to me. All right, and the last thing I'm going to show you here is this magnificent emperor moth. Now, an emperor moth belongs to the same order of insects, the Lepidoptera, that the moth Peter showed you belongs to. It's just a different family. So he was showing you a burnet, and they belong to a different family to these, the emperor moths. And what we'll do is just stick him under the microscope, but before we do that, just take a note of the eye spots. That's what designated him an emperor moth. We don't know what kind he is. He isn't in the book that we have here now. Oh, sorry, there's an impala lamb around. Let's go quickly across to there, and I'll tell you about the moth just now.
I was just trying to show you here. Welcome back to us on this side. We did mention the impala earlier, wanting to look for some young ones, and Jandra actually just did a good spot. Going to try and get you a little window through here. Here we go, that should work. Look at that. Tiny little lamb. You see the male impala smelling it. They're not likely to be the father. I mean, not impossible, but not likely. The mating season and the lambing season, you know, those males might have moved well off by then. And this is a tiny little guy, or girl. This little lamb would be anything between 6 and 24 hours old. I don't think more than that. So let's say it's a day old, a couple hours more than a day, a few hours less than a day, but tiny little baby. Amazing to think that, let's say 24 hours ago, that was folded up inside that female's stomach, to give it a generic space. I mean, it's not in her stomach, obviously, but in that area of her body. It's amazing to think how they sit there, and how the females not only carry them until they're this big, but how they're still very active and mobile. They can still run away at great speed hours before they give birth to that lamb. Now, obviously, they needed to do that, otherwise you wouldn't have sort of stuck around for the next generation. So we all understand how it works, but it's still amazing that it does that, and that lamb then, once born, can within hours walk, run, balance on 3 feet to groom its paw, as it's doing now. Sorry, its hoof, not its paw. And again, we understand why. I mean, it's logic. You're born in the wild. You need to be precocial. The baby is what they call it, the term for being born ready to run and see and do everything. We all know why. I mean, the predators are going to chase them, and we understand it. But it's just absolutely beautiful to see it. I mean, you get millions of little miracles around us every day, millions of little magical things, whether it's insects and all the details that you see on them, or the flowers, or the impalas that are born, thunderstorms that we've seen the last few days. Thinking of that beautiful image, Scott shot this amazing picture with the lightning in it. For those of you who haven't seen it, stunning image. All these things around us every day, and maybe up there with that is what we're doing as well. The fact that we can drive around like this, look at these things, enjoy the impalas and enjoy the view, enjoy the bushveld, enjoy the mountains in the distance, the sky and everything around us. I know I'm going on a little bit, but this is my first day back on drive, so I'm going to give myself a bit of leeway with sort of trying to get lyrical about it. But this really is amazing, and what we're doing here at this moment, the fact that you can sit anywhere in the world and join us for the safari, join us for this experience, I would say it's up there for me with things like baby impala and lightning storms. So yeah, thanks for driving along. Thanks for enjoying this with us. We are now in Aretusa, which is the sort of neighboring area to Djuma. A lovely area. We're going down to riverbed, some nice big trees around us here. Some of them dead, obviously, so you've got these sort of tree skeletons. Great place. You often see big raptors on this, things like vultures. Earlier on the drive with HT, you saw that vultures sitting up in the trees, and they like these dead trees because they can't fly into lush trees. They've got wingspans of up to 5, 6, 7 feet, some of them. So they need open space and need nice strong branches to hold them. So this is the kind of place you'd often see raptors, big birds, and who knows what else. That's why we're here. We're going to look around and see what else we can find. Guys, also keep in mind, you're welcome to ask us questions, whether it is, how fast can an impala run, or when do they give birth typically, sort of pertinent questions to what we're looking at, but also just general questions, maybe about Africa. Maybe you're thinking of coming to Africa and you're wondering what's a good time of year, or maybe you're wondering something about what's going on with us guys living out here, some of the sort of interesting points of living in such an amazing place as Kruger National Park. You can always ask questions, and you can do that. The easiest way to do that would be hashtag SafariLIVE, and that gets through to the control room where the directors are, and they give those questions through to us and we can chat. We are on a runway that's busy being constructed, so this is not a typical game drive vehicle that you would see normally on drive, so in case this seems odd to you, but they're busy building a proper runway, and not just a dirt runway, but a big sort of what do you guys call it in the States, asphalt, or exactly, asphalt roads or tar roads, hard top roads, whatever you want, big enough that they can fly bigger planes in here. So that's why you're seeing that. Hello, Tim. Yeah, Tim is just commenting there on the poor mother having to have such a big baby. But at the same time, she's lucky enough to have a baby that once it's born, it gets up and it does its thing. And I've recently been experiencing human babies, and my son only started walking about 2 weeks ago, and he's just over a year old. So the care aspect is quicker. That little impala would be running around in minutes, still drinking milk, obviously reliant on the mother's feeding it. But they would within days start to eat little bits of grass and leaves as well, and that's also why they have those young ones this time of year. In summer, the beginning of summer, when it's raining, so there's lots of good food around, so the mother can be in good condition to produce that extra milk. But also there's nice, soft, nutritious, good food around for the youngsters to start their own feeding on it. So that process is really, really quick. From birth to independence, I mean, those lambs could be fully independent 6 months, 8 months old. Rita's a little bit closer to where we are than some of you other parts of the world. Rita's from Johannesburg, which is one of the biggest city in South Africa. If you're not familiar with South Africa that much, Rita, unfortunately, where I'm at the moment, I'm right on the edge of signal. In fact, we're only about 300 meters from where we had that amazing experience with Shadow when she killed the impala, the last drive I did before today's ones. Rita, I heard you saying welcome back, heard you saying happy to be on drive, but I missed the rest of it, and that's just because the radio is breaking up, so I can hear only about 2 or 3 out of 5. Okay, cool, there I can hear it again. So guys, if I don't hear the details of what you're telling me at the moment, it's just because of where we are, but I do want to look around here. Rita, you were just asking, do they give birth at night or in daytime? They would give birth, I would say, probably sort of any time really, but I would say quite often during the night or the very early hours of the morning, going into the day, rather than sort of late in the day going into the night. And impala are very secretive about it. In fact, we were talking about it yesterday with the guys. I stand to be corrected, but I don't think any one of us, or very few of us, have ever seen an impala birth. I've never seen one. I've seen the babies very small. In other words, seconds, minutes after birth when they're still wobbly legged. But the birth itself, impalas leave the herd. So if there's 50, 60, 80, 100 impala, the female, when she knows she's about to give birth, she'll go off into the bush a little bit, because the big herd obviously can attract attention, and then she'll give birth there and then come back to the herd. Okay, we're going to look around a bit more. It's funny how you remember specific places. This in there, that turnoff, if we drove in there right now, about 60 yards in, that's where that amazing experience with Shadow and the kill and then the hyenas and everything around it happened. Another place we've seen lots of amazing things, any of the waterholes, Boitela Dam, Maretusa Dam, all of those are great places to find wildlife. Hayden's at Buffelshoek Dam, he's going to chat to you a bit, we'll see you back in a while.
Well folks, this is a favourite little spot of mine and everyone here on Safari Live. It's the place that's really only got an expanse of water big enough for one creature at the moment. Take a look. They weren't here this morning, but there's 3 hippos back in Buffelshoek Dam here. The water level is very, very low at the moment, and they're probably about as submerged as they're going to get in this water point at the moment. There's a lot of that cracked mud there. There's a couple of channels through there that they've been walking through, just to the right and left of where the animals are, and they will move from waterhole to waterhole during the evening, in the cooler parts of the night, where they go out and graze as well. But at the moment they're just lying and enjoying the last bit of water that's left here. Hopefully we are going to get some rain, big enough rain that's going to put some serious water in here. If you just have a look, Andrew, over the other side on the bank there, if you pan back a little bit, the water level used to go right along the edge there and right around here. You can probably just see a line of where the water level used to be. It's gone down a considerable amount this year, and the rains are a little bit late, so we're all praying for rain at the moment, and it's definitely coming. It's definitely coming. We got a bit of a nice shower last night at about midnight. That was quite a beautiful downpour, but it only wets the ground. It's not enough for it's just puddles in the road and a little bit of water here and there, but nothing on the level that's what's needed for all these animals that are going to be dropping their calves and their foals and much more over the next few months. But these hippos are probably going to stay here until it comes out to graze tonight. Now the hippos will benefit from this little bit of rain, this flush of grass. They will come out and have a beautiful grazing session away from a water point, and then make it back just before dawn to the safety of the water. You can also see there, Andrew, I'm pretty sure you've got the Egyptian geese and their little goslings behind there. There's only 4 of those little goslings left from 8. We talked about them this morning. And it's a hard life being a gosling in this part of the world. You can be eaten by so many things, whether it's a tortoise or whether it's a turtle, or another bird of prey, or a reptile, loads of different predators would take a gosling. But these 4 have survived, and the mother and father are looking after them. We'll see how they get on. We'll keep count on those guys. So on the other dam camera over at Arathusa, there was a successful raising of 8 little goslings, which is fantastic. They've all made it to maturity. Let's hope these little awesome foursome will make it through. But you know, the hippos aren't obviously doing much other than staying in the safety of that area, so we might move on. But one thing I probably just want to revisit from we did this morning, and just a little bit of a plug of it. It's not an official, it's far from official, it's just a little bit of fun that we're doing over the next 2 weeks. We're going to call it Operation Wild Child, and basically I want to put this challenge out to you. Now, if you're watching Safari Live at home or at a friend's place, and you're either with your kids or your grandchildren or nephews or nieces, or there's a bunch of kids around from around the street or something, and they're not watching with you now, go and grab them. I challenge you now to sit down, at least watch for an hour and explain to them what's going on. Get them hooked. That's the whole thing I really want to try and do, is just have a little connection with your children in your family or friends, or what's going on at the moment in your world. Go and grab one of the kids and sit them down and have a chat with them and ask us a question. Tweet us at #SafariLive, or email us a question at questions@wildearth.tv. And you know what? For a child to have their question answered down the barrel of that camera with you right now is a pretty special thing. So I challenge you now to go and find some of your kids, bring them around the computer or around whatever you're watching it on your tablet or on your mobile phone or whatever, and have a bit of a chat. And let's talk about some nature. We've got to get kids connected with nature. Right, let's see if this Land Rover can do its thing up here. Right. Okay, Landy. Hold on, Andrew. Let's see if we get it in gear here. Well, that's what this vehicle's supposed to do. Right. The great thing about what we do here is we've got so many things going on. We've got bushwalks, we've got James in the tent, we've got drives, we've got drones. It's all happening on Safari Live, and that's the beauty of the different types of things that we can show you. And what the guys have got on Walk for now is going to show you something completely beautiful. Small, but the small things matter. We'll see you just now.
Welcome to the Sunset Walking Safari, and we have an incredible little creature here. It is called a dice moth. Well, this is, and that's what he thinks of me. He's just defecated on me. But this is the larval stage of a moth, a dice moth. Look at how it's waving those around. He wants to go to something next. Here we go. Most incredibly beautiful caterpillar. This is the first one I've seen this season. And the reason it's called a dice moth is the adults have markings very similar to a set of die on their wings, but they are incredibly beautiful. And out with the rain, feeding. I'm gonna try. Oh, he's just. You can see how it waves those wings. I'm not sure if wings is the correct word, but modified spines almost. And that's probably to keep predators at bay, to make him look a lot scarier than he is. As you can see, I'm handling him, whoopsie, with no problem. They are incredibly beautiful. Whoopsie, sorry guy. By the way, my name's Brent Leo Smith, and I have Brian Joubert on camera, and we're out and about, not only looking for these incredible small things that are out here in the African bush. We're busy in an area where we had leopard tracks this morning. After the rain, it's proving very difficult to see any tracks, but we're still checking the area. And the wonderful thing about being on foot is you are able to spot incredible creatures like this. This particular little chap was spotted by Stefan, who's our security detail, who wanders around with us in the bush. I'm not sure how close you can see. Can you see the little dots on his body? It actually almost looks like, I'm trying to have a look. I thought I saw a mite on his body.
Okay, let me move back a little bit.
When you see those little black spots, that's not what I was talking about.
Hang on.
I thought I saw a tiny little mite run across his body, but I seem to have lost it as it's gone into the dark. Everything's keeping very still now. Oh, not sure about that. An incredibly beautiful creature. Guys, we've got animals alarm calling. There we go. That's probably the leopard. As exciting as this little dice moth is, we're going to pop him down. I'm going to put him back on the thing. We've got kudu alarm calling back to the area where we last had leopard tracks. So we're going to move. While we do that, we've got quite a long distance to cover to those alarm calls. We're going to cross to James in the tent, and hopefully we've got some good news shortly.
Well, that is extremely exciting stuff. I hope the inimitable Leo Smith finds that leopard. If anyone's going to, I suspect it will be him. Well, we're going to show you something called a pill millipede while he's knocking about trying to find the leopard, and I'll keep an eye on the screen making sure that I can see him. We'll nip straight across to the microscope shot, and there you have the pill millipede. And they are different from the normal worm-like millipede in that they look like pills, really. They're born with 3 segments, and they only get up to about 12 segments long, whereas the normal millipede gets up to about 100 segments long. So that's him, and next to him is a piece of his dung, which is not, I suppose, that fascinating, but interestingly, that he's been sat in a Tupperware. We'll release him just now. He's not dead, actually. That little piece of dung there is made up of old detritus from plants. That's what they eat, and the pill millipede is in that kind of a sort of rolled up ball in order to protect himself from any predators that might want to come and get him. So that's what he looks like there. That's what he looks like there. Right, now I'm going to tell you quite an interesting story. I struggled to explain this adequately earlier to the final control. That was the pill millipede there. We're going to put him back in. Anyway, what I'm showing you here, let's have a look at him first without the microscope. There's some lichen here. Now, a lichen, I'm not referring to werewolves, which are sometimes referred to as the lichens. I'm referring to this incredible symbiosis of fungus and algae that forms an entirely different living kingdom. So where before we used to think of there being the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, there are actually at least 7 distinct kingdoms, and this is one of them. There may actually be different kingdoms of these lichens. So let's put him under the microscope, it under the microscope, and I'll just show you these amazing sort of tubular structures. There we go, in focus, sort of. And this thing is it's a symbiosis, like I say, between fungi. So that fungi are made of filaments, and in between the filaments of the fungi live the algae. And what the algae do is photosynthesize and provide this kind of symbiotic organism with carbohydrates from photosynthesis. And then what the fungi do, they're really good. They're used by termites to digest the cellulose and lignin in sort of wood and other plant material. So the filaments of the fungi digest the wood, the host, and various other bits of plant, while the algae produce photosynthates from the sun and from the carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere. It's really a quite astonishing thing. Right. Now, what we're going to do is go across to the new drone commander for the day. This is, of course, Wiam the Wildebeest Doornbrach, and he is looking, hopefully, at some impala. So let's go across to him, and Ah, there we go, I can see them. Unfortunately, WildEarth is roughly at the same height as the satellite that's doing our broadcasting, so I can't see an enormous amount of what's going on with these impala. But lovely to watch the herd from above like this. So we can see them all scratching away at each other. That's about as interesting as it gets from this particular height. But now what you should try and look out for, and I mean I'm very new to this as well, so you're in the same boat as I am, is to check out whether you can see any kind of odd interactions. Is there any bullying going on? Are there social interactions that you might not notice? You can see also the enormous bellies on those ewes. That is amazing. You can't really see it from the side like that, but they are all about to pop and produce a little baby like the one Peter found a little bit earlier. So this will soon to become from a, well, I suppose what would be a breeding herd, it will soon become a nursery herd with a lot of little babies. The males will still be around. They'll be lurking around on the outside of the herd, but otherwise they will live on their own on the outskirts. Okay, let's head across to Hayden Turner, HT. There he is. He's driving along, I don't know where, I don't know what he's looking for either, but he'll tell you about that, and we'll see you just now.
So we just left Buffelshoek Dam, just cruising along through this little area that I haven't been down since I've been back today, and it's a lovely little bit of open woodland, and you never know what's around the next corner, folks, that's for sure. It's a great thing to be able to just drive down these roads and not know what's going to be next. And that is the beauty of SafariLIVE. It is live, there's no script. We just go out and find what we can find and do our best to try and bring these fantastic encounters to all of you wonderful people that are with us. Just turn my Game Drive channel down a little bit. Perfect temperature, it's just beautiful today, and you're definitely starting to get that gorgeous green coloration coming through. A lot of the impala that you've probably been seeing this morning and this afternoon folks, I just saw a little head go in here, and I'm just going to turn off for a second to see if it was what I think it was. I thought it was a dwarf mongoose. Just go into this little termite. Oh, yep, there we go. Can you see?
Maybe head a bit to the right, HD.
Just there.
Perfect.
Just popped his head out. He's just gone back in. Let's just see if they get a little bit more. I might just go forward a little bit for you, Andrew. Oh, yeah, okay, rightio. I see now they're just coming out of different holes, so they will use this as a little safety spot. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm just doing a bit of a core stability exercise here for you because I'm leaning right back. Little beautiful little squeaks you can hear, alarm calls or sort of danger communication. There's something that they're not quite happy with, and that's just a little bit of a big vehicle sitting close to them, but you will see those little heads pop up and little babies there. This is a band of dwarf mongoose, which is so beautiful to see. Just trying to keep my head out of the way. It's really hard to sit where I'm sitting. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? Very busy little mammal. This little band will be foraging around this area looking for anything they can get their little teeth into. Invertebrates, small small reptiles. And look at that, aren't they fantastic? They're youngsters, those ones. And there's another couple just popped out just here. If we sit here for a little bit longer, we may be able to. I'm just going to try and pass my head past that way, Andrew, and then that way that gives you a bit more scope to have a look around there, mate. Because they are popping their heads out of all different locations, and they tiny little baby ones over the top there. But there's an adult just where Andrew's got his. So they're such busy little creatures. Tiny little guys over on the top of that one, Andrew. Yeah, they got some really great. They're going to get a little bit more confident with us, I think. Got a lovely message from Richard. Richard, thank you so much for watching. And Richard's message is that his life has become so much brighter by watching Safari Live every day. Well, I tell you what, Richard, you've made my day, mate, hearing that sort of thing, because that is why we do what we do. It's this connection that we have with you on our vehicle with us, watching this daily, and it is the joy of what we do, bringing these pictures to you, and you're in the moment, you're here with us live, and that is what the special thing is about. Thanks so much, Richard. Really, really kind words, mate. I hope you're enjoying it. Just want to sit here for a little bit longer, folks, and see if they get a little bit more bold and comfortable with us. There's little heads poking out here and there. At the moment, you can see that little one behind Andrew there. Now they're starting to get a little bit more bold. Okay, guys, we're going to cross quickly to the other guys, and they're tracking something very special. See you now.
We're right in the area where we had those alarm calls, and we've run here as fast as we could. And we're just trying to see what's here. We're just going very carefully. And I'm hoping it's the male leopard we've been tracking. Get a very brief visual of them earlier. We're just trying to confirm the best place to get them. As soon as we've got a good sight of them, we're going to go Peter ahead and get the game drive vehicle in there. We hear that Franklin moving. Hear that Franklin alarm calling? Incredible that camouflage that these guys have. I'm pretty sure he's just here. Just hear all the birds. So I think he might have moved deeper into that little drainage line. What I am going to do, because I'm 100% certain that leopard is here, we did have a very brief visual of him, is I am going to go Peter or HT, whoever's closest, into this block. And hopefully it doesn't move. Yeah, the Franklin. We're just going to come one last little look, see if we can spot this leopard. Franklin's moving on the ground. There is Franklin alarm calling that way. So we're going to go across to Peter while we find out exactly what's going on. I am going to start getting HT into this area because this leopard is here.
Well, this is as any afternoon does on a game drive, developing in mysterious and beautiful ways. Lots of excitement. Listening for alarm calls, but I believe Brent and them have found a leopard, and it might take a little bit more time to get down into exactly where it is. We're sitting with some dwarf mongoose, the same as Hayden had a bit earlier. And we're just driving along the road and we just saw one of those heads pop out of the road, literally where those two are sitting now. There's a hole going into a termite mound under the track, so decided to stop. Well, that's a bit of playing going on there. Presume maybe the one that's grabbing the other one. If you look very carefully, look at that. You can see the little hands coming around the rump of that one. I'm guessing it's a youngster. Look at that. Oh, it is a youngster. Awesome. Very social animals. I mean, dwarf mongoose are brilliant little predators, great hunters, great pack group or pack hunters. They catch anything from small lizards and little frogs to insects to all kinds of things. So fantastic to see these guys. And also, fantastic to have the prospect of a leopard for the afternoon. We are still much further to this sort of southwest, I guess, from where Brent and even Hayden would be. Hayden's on his way there. He'll get in there with a vehicle, hopefully. So we can't promise. Leopards can disappear any second. Anything can change, but it looks like we've got a chance of leopard. We're slowly moving along. We'll be at Red Dam soon, and then probably slowly make our way up towards Western Gowrie. Maybe even go over a little peek at that leopard as well if Hayden finds it. Sorry, Sarah, I got some of your question there. What is the greatest what of South Africa? The greatest myth about South Africa that I'd like to change. Ooh, that's quite a big question. Hello, Sarah, from Ohio. Let's have a look in here. This is one of the warthogs. Oh, what's that? Egyptian geese flying away. You can see an eagle up ahead, but it's just landed a bit far. We'll see if we can see it. This has got some more water in it. I don't know how dry it was, but I would guess Red Dam would have been dry. There we go. Look at that little bird. That'll be a black little fork-tailed drongo chasing that eagle. It looks like a Wahlberg's at a quick glance. Still chasing it. And I would quite happily compare that drongo to John Ray at the moment behind the camera, because that was well followed. Well done. They were moving. Guys, this was dry. Tara was just letting me know that the last time they saw this a couple of days back, no water yet. So this is just from the rain, probably in the last 24 hours. We had a nice downpour yesterday morning and last night. So nice to see the waterholes filling up. Sarah, the greatest myth. I don't really know. I can't think of an answer right now. I can't think of what I would like to change. I think the greatest one perhaps would just be that Africa is far away and dangerous and you can't go there. Oh wow, look at that. There's another Wahlberg's eagle getting harassed by that drongo. Awesome, and we're getting a close seat here as well. Lovely, look at that drongo coming right in there. A story I've told a few times before. I watched a drongo once harass a big raptor like that in flight. and the raptor actually managed to hit it with its head while they were flying, and the drongo fell to where we lost sight of it into the trees, and we thought, oh, wonder if it's all right. And 10 seconds later, the drongo came flying out and went at it again. So tenacious little guys, and they will just basically harass the eagle as they're doing now until they can chase it away. And if they chase it away far enough, it's not in their area anymore, and they leave it. Nice to be in the vehicle with you, John Ray. Enjoyed that. Cool. Let's go look around. So yeah, I would say probably that is people tend to think, you know, one of the questions I love getting is, you know, when's the best time to come to Africa? And my answer is always the same, and the best time is the first opportune moment. The first time you can do so, do it. And the same with, you know, people think, well, I want to go to Africa, I want to go see eagles and leopard and sunrises and, you know, acacia trees, all those things that you associate with Africa, giraffe, zebra. But then they think, oh, well, you know, it's dangerous, there's Ebola and there's malaria and there's crime or whatever. There's a lot of things everywhere in the world. But in the end, if you're going to be traveling as a tourist to a tourist destination, you will have people looking after you, whether it's the airline or the company that's organizing your travel or the lodge where you're staying. So they'll make sure that everything's fine. Most of South Africa doesn't even have malaria. Where we are here, there used to be a lot of malaria, now it's almost non-existent. Ebola is something you don't have to worry about because Ebola is actually closer to Europe than it is to South Africa in terms of the geographical layout of the land. So my point is just that many people tend to have all these reasons that they think are real reasons stopping them from getting in an aeroplane and flying and going to Africa and going to see a wilderness area, whether it's in Africa or Asia or Europe or America, it doesn't matter. But if people want to do things, we all want to do things. We want to go see, you know, grizzly bears or tigers or lion in the wild, and then you think, okay, I want to do it. This and this and this and this and this is the reasons why I can't do it. And often those reasons are misconstrued or not even true or not necessary or not practical to the situation. So I guess if I had to break a myth about South Africa or African travel for that matter, is that often people might think it's dangerous because of all these things they perceive. But if you go and look at it, you know, malaria might not be a problem. I mean, I come from Namibia, and malaria doesn't even exist in a lot of it. In South Africa, malaria doesn't exist in a lot of the parks. If you go to lodges like the beautiful places in this area, you know, you're going to have beautiful mosquito nets around your rooms. You're going to have the mosquitoes would be sprayed around the rooms. Malaria is not something that will affect you. It's not something you'd even have to think about if you didn't sort of believe it beforehand. So that would be the biggest thing. Exactly. Abby, I agree with you. I think you're agreeing with what I'm saying, and I'm drawing it out too long now. But it really is that. It's just, you know, there's many reasons for you to do this, and many of the reasons why people think they can't do this are imaginary or are a myth rather than reality. And that's maybe what I would like to say to you, Sarah, is if you ever thought of it, maybe you have traveled already to Africa. If you have before, you were worried about a few things, read up on it. Obviously, you want to know what's going on. You don't want to come here and worry about things. But, I mean, for instance, I don't really know where I'm going. Sort of driving and then deciding where we go when we get to the next junction. You know, for instance, the tourism industry in Namibia and South Africa was very, very heavily influenced by Ebola end of last year in Central Africa. Now, obviously, Ebola is terrible, and it's a horrible thing to have. But in Namibia, the first quarter, tourism was influenced by about 25% drop in tourism. And those were things that were booked already, often, and then cancelled. And in Namibia, a lot of our tourism actually comes from Europe. And ironically, a lot of those countries where people were coming from, physical, in terms of physical distance, they were closer to where the Ebola was than we were in Namibia. But people don't realize it because they just assume that it's all closer together, perhaps because they think of Africa. So it's just those kind of myths in terms of thinking almost that I would like to do. Great question, Sarah. Sorry, at first I didn't know how to answer it. It's always nice to get a question that sort of leaves you, in South Africa we say stumped, leaves you stumped. It wouldn't make sense to you in North America because you don't play cricket. But stump would almost be like 3 strikes. You know, you're suddenly standing there thinking, what do I do next? So I was stumped there for a little bit, but actually quite like the thinking around it there. Thank you. Enjoy that. Nice question. Impala Plains, open grassland area. Again, like everything at the moment, has a golf course look to it. In a month or two, this will be tall grass, sort of knee height, hip height even. We're very lucky to experience this. Even for Big Cat Week, it's going to be stunning to experience this sort of explosion of summer, where it goes from really dry, hot, dusty, brown, not much food, then the rain comes and you have this garden-like view. Well, there's a couple of monkeys up ahead, and keep in mind, as you can, I'm sure, have done, Brent and him are following up with that leopard. Hayden is heading there as well, hopefully to see it once they find it, to get the vehicle in. Obviously from a vehicle you could see it much better, but I'm pretty sure there's no leopard close to us now, because if there were, 9 out of 10 times, no, 99 out of 100 times, these monkeys would see that leopard and make a big noise and tell us about it. Although this is more challenging than a flying eagle. All those monkeys have disappeared. Guys, that tree that we're looking at, no jokes, I saw at least 3 monkeys go in there, and I'm going to try. I can't see one with the naked eye. It's actually quite funny. No, come on, let's see. We're going to show you one. They sneaky little guys. They'll climb up there, and I've seen this. They go and sit behind a branch, and they just sit with a branch like this, and they just look at him, and they see you. They go behind it again, and they do the same thing. So we're going to move. Oh, there's 1, 2. A bit like, where's Wally? There's one right up there. Sneaky guys. Monkeys, they were on the ground when we spotted them, which is not that often you see it. Monkeys, they're very happy when they're in trees, or at least close to trees, so that if danger is around, they can hide in the trees. You know, monkeys are small enough that they would be potential prey for your big raptors. Not a Wahlberg's eagle like we saw earlier. They'd be a little bit small for them, the eagle. But martial eagle, black eagle, potentially could take monkeys. There we go. Now he's getting curious about us. See what he's doing? I'm bobbing my head up and down as well sometimes. That makes them a little bit like, hey, what you doing? Stop monkeying around. That's sort of like a teenager, young adult, you know, so still full of energy and curiosity, not quite as sort of, you know, the bigger monkeys can be a little bit nonchalant sometimes, but this guy, as you can see, very curious. Sorry about the camera movement, John Ray, but see if this one can bob his head a bit more. Come on. Awesome. Of course, these are called vervet monkeys, referring to the blue coloration you get on the males. When they mature. If a monkey was presented on a platter, they would say, that's nice, and eat it, but this is not really their prey species. It's a bit small for them. Monkeys are too quick for them. Monkeys are very, very quick and agile, and obviously going up into the trees. So not typical that lions would eat monkeys. Leopard maybe a little bit more so, which is why monkeys are so very, very alert for leopard. And if they see leopard, they make a big noise. That noise I was making just now, just amplified, and the whole troop will go nuts. Or the whole shrewdness is one of the collective nouns for monkeys. They will call that leopard to make sure the leopard knows that it's been seen. But so yeah, I would say around this area, leopard probably eat them now and once in a while. But out here, leopard would be first, would be impala in terms of the most likely prey for them. Impala, warthog, steenbok, duiker. And for the lions, of course, in this area, buffalo, and then zebra, kudu, waterbuck. Right, well, we're going to slowly roll along. This is getting into that exciting part of the afternoon. It's always exciting, but getting towards sunset, more things get active, predators start getting active. It's that crepuscular time when activity is at its height. And we're going to look at something small with a tent view and what we're experiencing there, and then see from there. Enjoy it. We'll see you back in a bit.
Right, well, very exciting times out there. If we do cut away suddenly, it's because Leo Smith has managed to do something other than wander around in the bush. I'm hoping fervently that he's going to find that leopard. Anyway, in the meantime, we've got quite an interesting caterpillar to show you. I suspect the caterpillar from a emperor moth, probably quite similar to this adult that we showed you a little bit earlier, in the early stages. And this chap has been sitting in a little Tupperware for most of the day on his favoured food source, and that's what he's sitting on now. And I'll move it across a little bit there, and you can see there, this is that beautiful flower called the string of stars, or Heliotropum. Helio, of course, meaning sun. So that's what this is. And just look at the incredible colors. What I will try and do, I think you'd come back to my face before you get nauseous from me trying to focus on this fellow. But we'll go in and take a slightly closer look at the hair on him. I'll just quickly focus I say quickly, I will attempt to quickly focus this rather finicky little piece of equipment that we have there. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Let's go across back to the microscope. And there you can see the white and black hairs. And that orange and black coloration with a bit of white and yellow, apart from being spectacularly lovely to look at under a microscope, is also aposomatic. In other words, it indicates that this caterpillar may well have some kind of a toxin in it. And perhaps that's why he's coloured like that. So, wonderful caterpillar. This probably from an emperor moth feeding on Heliotropium. Right, let's get rid of him. The next thing I want to show you, I'll prepare for you. And we had a little quiz earlier, and Raisa in Finland and Kirsty probably in final control got the answer correct. I looked at something under the microscope and I said, would you put it in your mouth? And I noticed neither of them answered that question. They did get the answer correct. It was a potato chip that Scott Dyson was consuming, and I just thought it looked so foul under a microscope. I wondered if anyone would ever put that in their mouths again. Right, the next thing I have to show you, before we put him under the microscope, is called a zigzag fruit chaffer. And we've seen a number of fruit chaffers while we've been in the tent here, and this little fellow likes to eat flowers and fruits, and the larvae, which of course he's a beetle, so he's fully metamorphic. He will produce a larvae that lives in the soil apparently, and sometimes they don't even form cocoons, they just kind of pupate in the soil, sometimes under dung and sometimes just under sort of compost. Let's have a look at him under the microscope quickly. He may run away. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Look at that incredible picture of his elytra. The elytra, remember, are the wing casings. So they used to be in more primitive insects. Those would have been wings, those casings there. And once he opens them, you can see the slit down the middle of that casing, and you can see them moving. Under them are the hind wings, and they will fold out when he flies off, and these elytra close over him and make him sort of safe, I guess. They provide a nice hard covering, but they're modified wings that are not totally useless for flying. The other interesting thing about them, I think, is that they look, and a bit like that moth, they look a bit like eyes. And I think sometimes these animals have got eyes on the back of their backs because they're not quite as big as some other animals, and perhaps those eyes make potential predators think that they might be bigger than they are. So if you look back at this moth, we'll just have another quick look at the moth. The moth there. If I was a potential predator and I was just wandering straight past and I saw that, I might think, whoa, that looks like a large-headed insect. As, oh, this chap's getting in on the act now. Oh, he's gone. Isn't that wonderful? This chap is not going to fly ever again. He is deceased. X no longer. So, looks like it might be a face. Right. Let's head back to Peter. He is on Arethusa. He is going backwards as we speak. I mean that in the physical sense. We'll see you in just a little while.
Creeper plants, like a little cucumber almost. Hello guys. Hello guys. Welcome back. Lots of interesting insects, and this is probably the best time of the year for insects. I mean, the whole summer, but in 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, this whole habitat will be very lush. All the trees will be leaves, the grass will be tall, and to actually find those insects become much harder because they can hide in all this cover. So this beginning of the rain, because the grass is still short, but because it's also the first explosion of insects, all these insects, many of them have been waiting in larval form or egg form or different ways that they've been sort of waiting for summer. Once the first big rains come, you get all these insects coming out. So it's a brilliant time to find them because you can see them. Just going, driving on the tracks and going off-road, you can see the beetles and the things running around. So an amazing time to look at all these small things. And I know everyone, and I mean everyone in camp is now into this, not just 1 or 2 people showing and finding things and show and tell and show and share and learn together. Very cool. We haven't really found much else. We've just been sort of doing what you do on safari a lot of the time. It's just enjoying the drive, enjoying the view, talking a bit, getting to know each other a bit better. And of course, anything can happen. We might bump into something. Keep in mind, we do still have the potential for a leopard any time, really. It could be quite soon, next few minutes, maybe a bit longer. So just enjoy the drive with us. Trisha, welcome on drive. I believe you're relatively new with us, but you've been doing many drives already. But this is going to be your first Big Cat week, and I presume that might be the case for many of you. Trisha was just saying that it's her first Big Cat week. We'll be looking at the same characters that we do on these drives. Karula, Shadow, the leopards, being obviously sort of some of the lead characters, if you want. Trisha, yeah, I mean the experience it's exactly this. We don't do anything different. Same cars, same people. It's just that we obviously ramp up the intensity a little bit for Big Cat Week because it's a very exciting time for us here on the ground. It's also a very exciting week for National Geographic and Nat Geo Wild North America. It's it's the big cats. It's great stuff to see. I've seen some of the promos that are going to be running for it. As everything with Nat Geo Wild, absolutely beautiful, stunning, visuals, beautiful cats. So all the program is going to be brilliant. From the live point of view, from the SafariLIVE experience, it is what we do every day. Same thing. Just as I said, we've got everyone here, and I find that I guess because of that sort of heightened energy, sometimes crazy things happen. We've had some crazy experiences last year during Big Cat Week. October, some of the trials we did earlier this year with Mother's Day, the live drives we've had. It seems that when there's suddenly hundreds of thousands of people coming along on drive, it's like the energy picks up a little bit. So I'm very excited. I know everyone here at camp is very, very excited. We're all looking forward to it. And great. I've been waiting for that as well, actually. But you can get it firsthand. Hayden's going to give you a bit of an update on where they're at with finding the leopard. I don't think they've found it yet, but maybe there while they do. Otherwise, I'll see you back here in a bit.
So folks, incredibly exciting stuff. The bloodhound. He and the other bloodhounds found leopard. They found it just down here, mate, yeah?
Just over here in this really thick drainage line. Well, Steph and Jamie actually spotted it first. Brian and I were fiddling around, so we can't take all the credit on this one, I'm afraid. Jamie actually spotted it, from what Steph was saying, and we're hoping it's that male leopard that the tracks were following this morning. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to find it with the car yet, but that doesn't mean we're not going to.
So we're going to just crack on with this, and we will come back to you immediately as soon as we find it. We're going to cross back to Pete. I'm with him.
Well guys, some tricky terrain, and I mean leopard are not necessarily the easiest cats to find. If they don't want to be seen, they just don't get seen. So we've got a much easier one here. We're in an open grassland area, hence some zebra, some impala on the left as well. But let us have a look at these. Zebra, as you might say, depending on where you are. Zebra. Heavily pregnant female there on the far left of the three, the one leading them. Now zebra actually have their offspring throughout the year. There is a peak in summertime, so more foals are born in summer than in winter. But unlike impala, for instance, that have the synchronized lambing season, zebras don't have a fixed time when they all have their young. Various reasons for that. One being firstly that the gestation period is a year, so almost exactly a year from mating to having the foal. But also they have a very different social structure. That is a foal, a young one, probably just under a year old. And then trailing just behind it, slightly thicker stripes, which is often the case, not always, but quite often the stallions have got slightly broader stripe patterns. Wow, that's amazing camouflage. Look how they just disappear behind that bush. Just kidding. Zebra is obviously living in grassland. Camouflage is not such a big thing for them. You know, if you're a kudu or a leopard living in thick bush, camouflage is important. For zebras, these stripe patterns, in a way, you could say, is camouflage for them within the herd. So if you have 10 zebra or 20 or 50 or 100 zebra and they're running away from something, so once they've seen the predator surprises them when they're running, by running close together, all those stripes become like a little sort of a blurry sort of stripy motion, and it can be quite difficult for the predator then, which would almost be lion always, to pick out an individual from the herd. So their camouflage is not to not be seen, their camouflage is more to sort of blend into the group. Oh, what a lovely setting here. Impalas in the background, a little bit of light coming through now from behind the clouds. We are in Africa. Right at this moment, life is perfect. Stunning animals to look at, tails swishing at the flies, temperature is nice and cool. And certainly one of the most recognized animals in Africa, or most associated with Africa, zebra. I remember years ago, I mean, we're talking about the early 2000s or something, I was reading an article where they did a survey with people visiting Africa from all around the world, what they expected to see or hoped to see. You know, what do you associate most with Africa? Hey, a bit of activity there from the impalas. Beautiful when they run like that. And let's actually get a couple of emails from you. If you feel like, you can send us an email as well to questions@wildearth.tv. Otherwise, just hashtag SafariLIVE, as you know. If you could give me the top 4, actually. That's the survey I read. It highlighted the top 4 animals. So if you want to give us the top 4 animals that you most associate with Africa, or otherwise just the first one. If you think of Africa, what's the first animal you think of? Now, I know that's maybe a little bit unfair to ask that question because we are looking at zebra. So that would have sort of preemptively planted a seed in your head. But let's just get what a couple of you guys think. I'll tell you this now. This is a study from long ago, meaning 15 years ago or something. But I'll tell you that just now. The top 4 animals associated with an African safari experience. You might have probably guessed that zebra was one of them. I can hear a drone. Yeah, I think you're going to get a view of us just now. Hello Jeffrey, beautiful city. I love Chicago. The last time I was there was during Christmas time. Beautiful, all the snow and the lights and everything. I loved it. You were just wondering, wait, a bit of play there between them. Also a bit frisky. It's a bit cooler. It's been raining. They've got good food, so there's a little bit more sort of energy for playing and having fun. Brilliant. Jeffrey, you were just asking if zebras have ever been domesticated. Well, not as a species. In other words, they haven't been domesticated the way dogs or cats or horses have. There's been individuals tamed over time. Circuses, obviously, in the early days of the transport industry in this area, in the Lowveld, I've seen photographs, old black and white images of zebras drawing some of the wagons. But I know that they, generally speaking, were not always the easiest things to work with. Their temperament wasn't good. Keep in mind that things like horses and cattle, it's been done for so long. We've been domesticating them for centuries, for generations.
No, it's not easy.
But also for temperament and for ability to work with them. So
like
zebras don't have the greatest temperament for it.
You know what I mean?
Beautiful view here, and also for you to be able to see from above what it looks like. Gives you context to where we are.
There we go.
I love that view. I always dreamt of having an eagle flying around, giving me a little view of what's going on around us from the sky. Now we're very close to that, which is quite cool. So, Jeffrey, just to finish that, there has been cases of individual zebra tamed, but not a great temperament for pulling wagons and carts. They've got quite loose skin, more so than horses, so to put a saddle on them gives you a very, you can sort of slide around to the side quite easily. Let's get a bit closer to them again. And then again, temperament would be a bit of a problem. They don't necessarily want to run when you want them to run and so on, so it didn't always work that well. Also their backs, the way they're designed, they're not as strong as horses. Again, horses would have been bred for a long time to carry people around, so never really took off and they never got domesticated. Also one of the reasons why Africa developed later on in the sort of 1800s at a different pace from other parts of the world. The horse played a massive role in industry and many things. I mean, up until steam engines came along, that was the thing that would pull further, harder, longer than you could with just human effort, if you want. I just love seeing what you just saw. That aerial view, especially when you're moving around a beautiful area like this with animals around you, is just stunning. Hey. Hey. Lots of energy there. Guys, that was not because of us in any way. They just, you know where the saying comes from, they're full of beans, full of energy. Let's go sit to them again. I think that one youngster is a bit playful, and then when he jumps, the other one jumps, kind of thing. A big herd of impala. I haven't counted them, but I would guess maybe not too far away from 100 or so impala here. And again, many of them very close to having their lambs. So maybe tomorrow morning we come out here and there's a few baby lambs around. Lovely setting. Look at that. Zebras, impalas, sunset busy developing, color in the sky. Well, Alina, many other people sending us some questions or some answers back from my question earlier regarding what animals you associate most with Africa, and pretty close. In fact, since many of you said the same thing, I would have to say that that's right. The article back then suggested, and the order that you guys sent through to me in general were lion, elephant, zebra, giraffe. The study back then suggested lion, elephant, zebra, lion, elephant, giraffe, zebra. But I think that's so close together. Well, lots of play going on. Fantastic. So yeah, lion, even though you actually get lion in other parts of the world, you used to get lion all over Europe as well. Now, of course, not anymore. And you still get lion in India. But lion is a very strong association with Africa. Elephant, obviously the African elephant. Giraffe would actually be the first one that is unique to Africa now. And then zebra, of course, also unique to Africa in the wild. I mean, you can find them in other places as well these days. And those are the things people hope to see, expect to see, and associate with the environment. Leopard, funny enough, not up there. Although once people have really experienced leopard in the wild, it tends to be one of the favorites for them, you know, on second visits or in hindsight. Let's go a little bit closer again. Nice leaves in the foreground here. This is from Transvaal silver cluster leaf, one of the species of tree that we see lots in this area. We get closer to them a bit. Zebras, lots of things you can say about the family structure. You've got one stallion and he's got his harem of females. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4 adult females. That foal will leave the herd when it gets old enough. But apart from this interesting social behavior and so on that you can get with them, they're just absolutely stunning. And if you get close to them, which is why I'm trying to get closer, the stripe pattern, I always just love the detail of it, the perfection of it. Whether it's the stripes going perfectly from the skin to the mane on the necks, or on the shoulder, that little triangle that it makes, the shadow stripes over the rump. And of course with these species, or these zebra, the Birdsall zebra, the striping goes all the way down to the foot and all the way underneath the belly. You get another species of zebra, the mountain zebra, or the Hartmann zebra in Namibia, where the belly is stripeless, so the belly will be white, and the legs will also sometimes not be striped all the way down to the foot. So those are some of the sort of visual differences. Little youngster. And at least one of those mares looks very ready for having a foal, so I did actually see that just now. I think Anne saying that she noticed one of the zebras looks like it could be lame in its left front leg. I think it was actually that youngster, the one we're looking at now. Didn't quite look, you know, totally lame to me in terms of that it couldn't use the foot, but I did notice it limping, and it looked like the front left leg. Maybe in all the running and playing, something got sprained a little bit. Beautiful, just listening to all the bird sounds. Rattling sesticula, a little brown bird that we can hear there to the sort of off left from us, that one going chee 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 trrr, chee 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 trrr. Not like that, but like that. I think you know what I mean. Not a musical sound, more a noisy sound. Fork-tailed drongos, can always hear them calling. Turtle dove or a ringneck dove in the distance. Awesome. Hello Kathy. Now Kathy's sitting in Tennessee and watching it with her parents who are sitting in Ohio. I love that. I love the fact that can all sit in different parts of the world and share the same experience. It's brilliant. You were just asking Kathy whether there's any benefit in animal species, multiple species. Let's in this case say zebra and impala, although impalas don't migrate here. Well, zebras don't really migrate in this area as well. But you're asking if there's multiple species migrating together, and I think you might actually be meaning moving together. I mean, migrating would, in African terms, mean move from one area to another. So a massive sort of change of location, like you get in East Africa. But I think you also might be referring to sort of general moving around together, and certainly there is. Grazing animals often share space together, so zebra and wildebeest, or in East Africa, topi. In other parts of South Africa, you would get things like hartebeest or tsetse, antelopes that are similar in habitat preference, and they will often travel around together, move around together. Just the more eyes, the more ears, the more eyes there are to look around, the more ears there are to listen, the higher the likelihood of finding a predator.
So, it's not always that leopard tracking goes your way, and so far it isn't going our way. So, it's not always that leopard tracking goes your way, and so far it isn't going our way. So
it's a dry area where water, when it does rain, will gather and flow. He moved off. We've been looking really hard. It was an incredibly tricky time through here that we just tried to follow that leopard, but the drainage line, I'm not sure if we crashed out. Our satellite went down, just had a bit of a blip there, but I just want to do a little recap for you. We picked up with Brent and Brian and Jamie and Steph, and they picked up that leopard visual. Really important, got that visual level, and then backed away. And then when they backed away, we then attempted to come up and try and find it. We dropped down into the drainage line, went through some very thick country. When we came to you again and we told you we were tracking still, came back through the drainage line again and over this other side. Now this is the junction where the three drainage lines meet, so this is probably the best spot, but we haven't had any joy. Not to say that it's not over yet. Brent's gone back out there, and I can hear sort of some discussion going on over here. They probably will come back to us just now. But for the minute, it's really, really important that you start to look at all the different tracks and signs, and it's not just the visual track, but it's dung, it's fur, it's feathers, it's any indication that an animal has been there. And dung is a really, really important thing. You can learn loads from it, and it's kind of fun. Let's go and see what the guys have got in the tent.
Right, everyone, we are looking at some pretty unsavory stuff, really. It's some dung, and the dung that we're looking at is of an animal you were looking at earlier, a dwarf mongoose. Now, we've got the microscope up here, and you can see the diet of the mongoose is relatively varied. That is a beetle leg over there that you can see. There we go, the leg of a hapless beetle that ended up in a dwarf mongoose's belly. And then these little sort of bits and pieces here, that's sort of pieces from the beetle's chitinous skeleton, exoskeleton. So chitin is a totally indigestible part of what gives the exoskeleton of a beetle structure. So that's what that is. And then the other thing that this chap's been eating is some millipede. There we can see some millipede shell, and again probably largely made of chitin, the exoskeleton. The insides are very nutritious, delicious stuff for dwarf mongoose, but will be unable to digest that sort of chitin there. The other thing is that they can't eat too many millipedes, of course, because there's cyanide in the millipedes, so not very particularly delicious. Right, so that was the one dung sample we have to show you. I'm just going to move things about a little bit here, toss this on the floor, and then load up some more. There we go. Now, kids who are watching, please do not go into the wild and pick up a whole lot of poo, mainly because you'll probably forget to wash your hands, eat a potato crisp like Scott Dyson just did, and end up with a bad stomach infection. Do not pick it up. Okay, right, so here we go. This is from a very unusual animal, a spectacular animal called a pangolin, which looks a little bit like an armadillo, although it's not related to an armadillo at all. And this pangolin has got scales, very armored scales. We'll show you a picture of it just now, but it eats almost exclusively ants. And all that you can see in here, I'm just going to try and find you the remains of a bit of an ant. There, we've probably got one there. There. So all of this is little bits and pieces of ant. That there would be a piece of ant. It's very difficult to try and get really kind of understand what the thing's eating from what we're looking at here. There are a couple of legs. Here we go. There's a leg there. That there. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it in the microscope. It's not as easy as it looks. I'll tell you. Come back to me while I try and find it. Okay, here we go. Right there. Wait 1 second. Wait, there we go. We've gone back to the microscope. There is the leg. There. That you can see moving there. That looks like the leg of a fairly large ant to me. So I think that's probably what that is. And unlike the mongoose, won't have a very variable diet at all. So let's come back to me and I'll show you a picture of a pangolin, which is probably a little bit more interesting than looking at its dung. I have yet to see a pangolin here. I've seen one in the, not in the Sabi Sands, I've seen one in the Timbavati, which is just north of here, but I've never seen a pangolin in the Sabi Sands. So that's what a pangolin looks like, and unfortunately they're quite threatened because those scales are used in traditional medicine every so often, but they occur relatively commonly in these protected areas, and they're quite difficult to find, so potential poachers have a tough time finding things like pangolins. Then the one other thing I wanted to show you right now, once we just get rid of that dung onto the floor, we'll have to sweep it out of course after the show. We don't want the tent starting to smell like a sewer. We have this scorpion. We have the scorpion here, and a really amazing thing here that I did a bit of studying on scorpions today, and what we'll try and do is let's just home in on the skin, not the skin, the sting first. Focus. There we go. That's relatively focused. Okay, let's go across to the microscope. Now, unfortunately, I've put this on the left-hand side, which I shouldn't have. That bit there is where the anus of the scorpion is, astonishingly. So its digestive tract runs all the way up its tail, which I just find absolutely incredible. It runs all the way through there. This is the whole tail of a scorpion called a burrowing scorpion, or Opisthythalmus glabifrons. Scott Dyson taught me that. I'm very proud. He just gave me a thumbs up from behind scenes. He's looking like a very proud teacher. Now, the other thing that's interesting here, and I'm going to show you the, not from the scale, let's come back to my face and I'll just show you what we're going to look at now. There, you've got the pincers, okay? Now what's interesting, these are modified, well, they're pedipalps, so this is not part of the legs. Now a scorpion has got 8 legs, and these pedipalps, which are sort of like a 10th limb, but they're not actually limbs at all. So if you look down here, what we want to look at, oh, perfectly in focus first time, astonishing skills. Right, let's go back to the microscope. These hairs, and again this was taught to me by somebody a bit more clued up than I am, and that was Stefan in this case. These hairs are apparently massively sensitive, and they fall into little pits. This microscope's not quite powerful enough to see those pits, I don't think. And they're so sensitive apparently that if you you pull one of these things out, it's a bit like, probably like having your tooth drilled by the dentist without any form of anesthetic. That's the kind of sensitivity that they have. And they use them because a lot of these things hunt in the dark. This one definitely hunts in the dark. And if you imagine him, let's come back to me and I'll show you what they do. You can see the hairs here. You imagine when they are trying to collect things in the darkness, they can feel what they're grabbing with those hairs by moving and feeling exactly where their prey are. They also sense humidity and temperature, and they're called setae, are they? Phycobothria, not called setae at all. Thank you for that, Scott. Okay, let's go to the bushwalk. They've got a very beautiful flower to show you, which makes a lovely fruit, and I'll see you just after. No, man.
So, unfortunately no leopard, but we have come across one of my favorite little snack bushes while out and walking through the bush, and unfortunately this one doesn't have any snacks on it yet, but I know where it is and I'll be back. It's called a bird's brandy, or a lantana. Interestingly, it's the only indigenous lantana species to southern Africa. We do have a very bad invasive lantana that comes from South America that's used for hedges and things like that. Very, very pretty flowers, very similarly shaped to these flowers, but lots of different multicolors, sort of red, orange, yellow. Very, very beautiful, but highly, highly noxious. If cattle or people eat the fruits or leaves from Lantana camara, the other lantana, they will die. This, however, is completely harmless, and the fruit is actually very, very, very tasty. That's why it's called bird's brandy. A lot of bird species are absolutely adore feeding off it, as well as me. Also, traditionally, the Afrikaans people, the first Dutch settlers in southern Africa, used to make a very nice preserve, a sort of a jam out of the bird's brandy. But it has been one of those afternoons, I'm afraid, and very frustrating to have found a leopard on foot. Just couldn't get HT there, and that leopard, I'm quite sure, is still lying up in that thick drainage line. Hopefully he'll make an appearance later on the sunset safari or on tomorrow morning's sunrise safari, but at least we know there's a leopard here, and that's half the battle. We know the area to start looking. We're not just sort of driving around. So our odds at finding a leopard have increased dramatically. So we're quite far from the vehicle, and so it is getting to that time of the night where us walkers have to start heading to the safety of home, and that's an instinctive response from when all of us used to live on the African savannas. And that's why you want to go home at night. You get that little tingle at your back of the neck at the end of the night as the sun starts setting. Time to get to where it's safe, and that's our little instinctive response to get away from lions and other predators that roam the night. We're the dominant diurnal predator. We are absolutely helpless in the darkness, so none of us want to be in that position. So we're going to start walking our way back towards our vehicle, and while we do that, we're going to hand you across to Peter, but enjoy the rest of the safari, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow.
Well, as you all know, sun is busy setting, and it seems that leopard managed to give us the slip for now. But you never know, leopards move around, especially this time around dusk. We're also in that general vicinity now of where Hayden and Brent has been, so we might still find this leopard slightly more randomly perhaps, but while driving around here. Beautiful bird, even though you might not necessarily see what it is straight away because it's a juvenile, and it's a juvenile battalier, or short-tailed snake eagle sometimes referred to as well. Perfect perch on the dead tree branch. They might even sleep there tonight, or might fly off. Still enough daylight for a bird to fly around in. Nice big moon as well. Hey, sorry. Let's see. So I love playing with trigonometry, if you want. The relation of position of things relative to distance. And that's just a jibbery-jabbery way of saying I'm going to try and show you this bird and the moon in one frame, but I think it might be a little bit tricky, but let's try, why not? Hey, Jean-Ray? Yeah. Otherwise it's going to fly. Would have been fun, but a nice big moon up there, that's actually wanted to show you or tell you it's gone. Not quite full moon, but we're looking at about a 3/4 gibbous moon. In other words, it's between half and full. So we'll have a pretty well lit night once it's dark, or once it's actually never dark in the bush. Once the sun is set. It is dark, but I mean there's always varying degrees of light available. If there's no moon, it's the darkest, but then there'll be starlight. So the darkest conditions you can get would be no moon and heavy overcast conditions. Then it can get pitch dark. But otherwise there's always a bit of light, moon or stars or a combination of. I think it would be nice to find a leopard. What do you think? So we find a leopard. Let's go find it. John Ray's keen as well. Sandy. The monkeys were quite fun earlier. I believe there's been a few sort of comments and chats about it. Monkeys are great. I like monkeys a lot. Funny to watch, entertaining to watch. Great little characters. And Sandy, you're just remembering back to some of the antics we had. I know, Sandy, you've also been part of this experience for a long time. Roadblock. What do you guys think did this? Let's have a look. If you look at the sort of the basic, any of these twigs at the tips there, that's wide would have been done. This would have been from elephant, pushing over this tree, which is a knob thorn, one of the acacias, and then eating the smaller, softer twigs at the top. Sandy, we'll finish talking about the monkeys just now. But yeah, this specific one, I'm not going to struggle with it now because I'm not as strong as an elephant. You need an elephant to move this. But we need to clear this on the road. We'll just find a way around, which, generally speaking, is quite easy. Yeah, no. Guys, if I was, sorry, thanks Tara, just letting us know we can go somewhere else, but we don't need to. even if I did move the tree, it would be fun for you guys to see how we do it. But this is too big. I'm going to be not doing anything other than getting red in the face. Okay, we can drive around it. So Sandy, to come back to the monkeys, and you were referring back to the monkeys in camp. Back in the day, I'll tell you a specific story about it just now, but we had that, the Gari gang, the monkey troop that lived and still lives around Waitela Lodge, WildEarth camp, around that Warthol area. We see them most often when they tell us about leopards, really. That's the times we notice them the most. But they would get up to all kinds of naughtiness and nonsense around our camp. And Sandy also asking about the troop of baboons that we used to see sleeping up in those trees close to the Woodhull. I don't actually know. That's changed somewhere in the time that that I've been away. So when we came back last year, we started, going around Jumagi and they were gone. I'm not sure what happened. Something would have changed. Maybe they'd find a better area or a better place to sleep, or who knows. Something would have changed that behavior. But the monkeys, no, maybe I'll keep that story for another time. It's a longish story. And I want to look for a leopard now. So if you can remember, Sandy, maybe in Big Cat Week, if you're driving along and there's not much happening, ask me about the monkeys in camp. I'll tell you two stories. One had to do with Leishan and I coming back from a leave cycle, and Leishan's mum, who's a lovely lady, spoiled us with this big bag of really nice sweets and chocolates. And the monkeys getting hold of that. And then I think it was 2 nights or 3 nights later, we had an experience. There's a bit of noise outside the bedroom late at night, 1 o'clock at night. Leishan thought were monkeys, but they were not. But I'll tell you that story another time if you remind me. And now we're not far from Twin Dams. We're going to look around Twin Dams, maybe take the riverbed. It's a beautiful drive. Let's see what happens. We have just under an hour left, so there's still lots of time to find something. Let's enjoy Africa just after sunset. Look there, guys. It's the rare English Australian beast. And it's Hayden Turner and Brian, who spotted us. Let's go see what they're doing. A big waterhole. After the next few big rains we might get, or hopefully will get, you will find that this will fill up nicely with water. Where's Hayden going? Aha! Hey, let me just show you these vehicles we drive around on. We will go up there and say how's it just now, but that's a great view of this vehicle, which is called Wendy. But brilliant little cars. I love Land Rovers personally, and these are just the best ones you can get for what we do out here in terms of ability to maneuver through the bush, twist and turn and zigzag through difficult terrain, deep gaps and gorges. There's nothing better than this. Great petrol engines in them. Not many Land Rovers have petrol engines, normally diesel engines. These have got brilliant engines in them. They've got special off-road suspension, which it sits high like that. I often get so excited when I come down here just by knowing that I'm going to get to drive these vehicles around. Alright guys, well let's go get the update from Hayden with regards to the leopard firsthand, and we're going to do it like this. I like this.
Come on. Stop.
Mr. Turner.
Hello there. Well, what a
nice hat.
Interesting situation we had there. It was fantastic. Brent called us in, folks. So last when we left you in that really thick vegetation up there, we came out. It's getting too dark for the guys to be out walking, so they pulled out, and then Brent suggested that we follow the drainage line down. So we came down there, and then I just went down this other kind of much wider drainage line, thinking we might have intercepted him there. but I haven't given up yet. We've
Not
still
yet.
got 50 minutes of cat time, and as Andrew likes to call it, leopard hour is upon us. So we're going to just a little bumble around this area, Pete, I think, and just have a bit of a squiz and see what you think. Because I just don't know. I don't know. It was so close. We were there and they had him visual, but the vegetation was just crazy to get through. And also, you know, the animal will start to hear the vehicle making so much noise. So,
HT, any idea which leopard it might be?
no,
My leopard?
they couldn't get a visual on it, but it was a. They think it might have been a male that moved off quite quickly. So we don't know, guys, but opportunity to just have a bit of a look around here.
Yeah, for
he
sure.
was heading this direction, so maybe, I don't know, mate, if we team up and...
Oh, well, I think let's do that a bit. You want to go high ground, I go riverbed, other way around,
well,
your call?
I was just going to pop back down and go up that riverbed again.
Okay, you do that. Also, this signal might be dodgy down the riverbed, and we're going to stay on this vehicle for now.
All right.
And I'm going to find the leopard first, obviously. And or alternatively, I'll find the leopard when you call me and I come have a look. So also, I just had to say, guys, on the back there, that person there is actually Andrew this afternoon. I thought it was Brian because they all, from a distance, look like bank robbers when they're dressed like that. So yeah, Andrew, nice to have you a bit on the vehicle. Andrew's, generally speaking, the drone pilot. So yeah, nice to see you guys. You can take the riverbed. I'm going to take Twin Dams Road, and we'll probably see each other towards Spaghetti Junction somewhere, and we regroup.
Got it. All right, folks, we'll see you just now. See you, mate.
Bit of a different view there of the vehicles. As HT was saying there, show you this. The rain can play a big role, obviously, in animals being found or not found. Leopard quite often like to move in drainage lines, these riverbed systems. I'll give you an idea just now. So basically what we're going to do is Hayden's going to take the riverbed itself, the drainage line, or the... Sorry, I've got a bit of a hiccup there. He's going to move through that. Leopard often use that. I'm going to use the road parallel to it, because leopard often use the road as well. It's an easy place to walk on in terms of the road obviously being nice and clear. So this would be a riverbed. If you look here to the right, that's the sandy bottom of the riverbed. And if we get big rainstorm, now if we get the really heavy rains of summer, then this could be in flood. I've seen this where it's covered bank to bank with rushing water. And also along these drainage lines you obviously have bigger trees because there's more water around. And these bigger trees, like the one we're looking at now, that's a jackalberry. I've seen leopards many times up in this individual specific tree we're looking at now. Over the years you get to see leopard in many of these big trees. So a beautiful area. I mean, even if you don't follow or look for a leopard in it, there's always a possibility of interesting wildlife in these riverbeds. Bushbuck, nyala, elephant like them. You never know what you could find, but it's also just pretty. Big trees, nice sort of coarse river sand. Always fun to just drive down it just for the sort of driving experience as well. So we're going to both go in this direction. We're going to take this road. Aiden's going to take that road. We're going to take a seat here because it's a nice seat. And we'll see. Hayden should be coming driving up this way just now. But for now, there's some interesting, pretty things to eat in the tent. So enjoy it. We'll see you in a bit.
Everybody, we were just staring out of the top of the tent here to see if we could find a hyena that went walking past, spotted by Eugene, whose stock has gone up markedly since this morning. Instead of finding a fork that one of those hyenas stole from the camp, he's found a number of interesting insects and things as the afternoon has gone on, which is marvellous. Right, we had a question from Marcus about fruits that are edible out here. Not many this time of the year, Marcus, but one of the ones that is starting to fruit now, of course, is the great marula fruit. Now, the marula fruit is a very famous fruit in Africa. Of course, it's made famous by the cream liqueur called amarula. which contains about 0.0000035% of actual marula fruit in it, but it does contain a little bit. The fruit itself, though, is very delicious indeed. It's got lots of vitamin C in it, lots of sugar, and so around January and February in this area, the elephants and the human beings, the monkeys and the baboons, go crazy for the fruit. As do many of the grazers. I've seen kudu and nyala and various other animals eat marula fruits. This one, of course, is nowhere near ripe. It won't ripen now, of course, because it's a bit stunted and just not a very good example. The first runt fruit of the season. But Marcus, the other thing that a marula fruit does is give you a nut, and the nuts, that's what the seed of a marula fruit, or the pip, looks like, and the seed is inside, and it's fed by a very nutritious and delicious nut that's very high in selenium, which of course is very good for the immune system, and it looks like a little alien head. If we look at it like that there, you can see that's sort of where the alien's eye might be, and if we do that, you can see where the nut is, and we can pull that out there. That was loosened earlier, I must confess to you. The nut has been eaten probably by a weevil or some other kind of invertebrate that's got in there and eaten something delicious. The nut is really quite delicious, but unless you're an unemployed person with nothing else to do in the day, removing the nuts from these seeds is an extremely tedious process, and you need to sit with a rock and basically just bash them all day long. Otherwise, you don't eat them, but there are lots around if you have the time and inclination. Now, let's come across back here to the microscope. We'll go straight to the microscope view. There we go. Now, this is called a devil's thorn flower, and I will show you why it's called a devil's thorn just now. The most important thing to notice about this is the amazing, you can see the petal flapping there in the wind, is the incredible sort of landing strip of ultraviolet purple there, and to an insect that will look like ultraviolet light to you and I. There's an amazing view there. That is, of course, we have a new man on camera at the moment. This is the inimitable Scott Dyson, who lied to me earlier about the scorpion hares. We'll get onto that later, probably after the show. So these ultraviolet landing strips here will look basically like an ultraviolet landing strip to an insect. We can see them as purple. To an insect that will look completely different. It will shine like a beacon, and so the insect will go in here like this. And what's really clever, if I move this around, try and maintain the focal distance, that's amazing actually. Now look there, those are the anthers that carry the pollen, and what the insect will do is go in through that landing strip, pick up the pollen off the anthers on its back by mistake, and then fly out again and carry the pollen off to another plant where it will be pollinated. Isn't that brilliant? So the insect will fly into the top there, frontwards, perhaps pick up some pollen on its back, fly out, go to another one, and then you can see how the fertilization would happen. Now, sorry, don't move it there. That's actually quite a nice picture. That's why it's called a devil's thorn, everyone. That is the seed that will eventually come of this flower. So this beautiful purple flower will eventually turn into that seed once it has been pollinated, the fruit has formed, and it will form this incredible thing. And you can see exactly why it would have these thorns. Isn't it quite brilliant? If you're walking along with bare feet and you happen to be an elephant, that will stick into the back of your foot, bottom of your foot, and off you'll go, and you'll then deposit it somewhere else, and it will then grow off, which I think is magnificent. And thank you very much, Miss Jin in Dallas, Texas, for your compliments about our little setup here with our microscope and our screens and things. I must say I was a little bit daunted by the thought of coming in here at one stage, but now look, we've spent 3 hours sitting here. Look at that view. We've been looking out at that. Viam is currently flying the drone from just outside. Louise and Eugene are knocking about the clearing, finding fascinating little bits and pieces. Viam, say hello. People are watching you. There we go. Don't be impolite. That's it. Very must concentrate. We have Tebs and Eugene. Now, let's have a look here. Now, little Gracie, aged 8, you want to know if these skulls that we have here, which are really rather magnificent, have died of natural causes or if they've been killed. Gracie, unfortunately out here, unlike with human beings, where we can get old and we die naturally, unlike that, these animals tend to get eaten. They don't really, as soon as they get a little bit weak, a predator will normally eat them. So if you look at this buffalo here, he is an old fellow. You can see that his horns have spread wide apart. He is very big, and I suspect he was quite weak when he died, Gracie, and so the lions ate him, I think, before he could die of natural causes. The warthog also, I mean, it's difficult to tell, Gracie. Now, it's difficult because, of course, anything that does die of natural causes out here will be eaten by predators. And that means that you will see teeth marks, and sometimes animals look like they've been killed by predators when they haven't necessarily. And if we look at this warthog here, you can see the hyenas have had a go at the front here, and they've definitely chewed away at different bits and pieces of the skull. And across to the giraffe here, a massively heavy thing, this giraffe skull. But again, Gracie, you can see the front has been bitten off by animals. But just remember, although it's sometimes, I remember being your age and I remember thinking how horrible it must be to live in the bush, and thinking I'd never want to go and live out there where all these predators are around and they eat everything that they come across. Remember, very few animals comparatively get eaten. They often live very long lives before they get eaten, and sometimes it's just their time to go. And remember, those predators, much like us, of course, we sometimes eat meat too. These predators have to eat, and so you mustn't worry too much about it, and don't think of it as a tremendously uncomfortable way of life for these animals. The one thing I did just want to show you quickly on this skull here is this calcification, and we often see this on the adult bull giraffes. They get these big mounds on the front of their heads, and as any good rugby or American football player will tell you, your skull will eventually get thicker if you keep bashing it against somebody else's skull. That's of course a lot of what giraffe do when they're fighting, and that's why that skull tends to calcify. It gets thicker after injury. It's like a scar tissue. Okay, still tracking the leopard is Hayden. It's got a bit dark for Brent to be doing it at the moment, so he's headed off home. Let's head across to Hayden, and just before we do that, we've got something here. Hayden doesn't have it yet. There's a hyena just over there watching the tent, and we don't have a huge zoom on this camera, but we'll just try and get a quick look at it there. There, you can see it. Well done, Scott. Good job. Look at him walking away there. Right, I wonder if we wouldn't try. You see, he's sat down now. Let's try, Scott, if you walk very carefully out of here, we might get a slightly better view. What happened?
No, I'm just
okay.
doing a terrible job here.
Okay, this is very difficult, everybody. It's not designed for this sort of thing, but we might get a slightly better view. And there he is. There he is. Now, as I've come out of the tent, he's lain down, he's put his head down, but he's fascinated. Hyenas are tremendously curious animals. And we'll see if we can get a drone shot of it with Viam. Viam is now running at great speed. He's just like a pilot that's been scrambled after an air raid or during an air raid. Come on, Viam, get up in the air. He's got it loaded up. I feel like I'm hunching like a hunchback. There's no need. The hyena can see me perfectly well as it is. And he's now watching with great interest. So hyena, very fascinated all the time. Sometimes when you look at that one, he looks like he's a completely friendly animal. They are pretty friendly, but at night they will be on the looking for opportunities. So he's looking to see if there isn't something to eat here. And by something to eat, he would think, I mean, he may even have a chew at some of the bones we've got here. He might look to see if we've left anything around, like Scott's potato chips, for example. He'd definitely eat those. He'd probably be violently sick for a week afterwards. And now Richard King, that's a very interesting question. While we wait for VM to fly his F-14 Tomcat over the top of this hyena, it's the slowest F-14 in the world. Richard, you want to know if we don't wear leather because it might attract animals. Richard, we do wear leather on our belts normally. And no, you won't attract animals by wearing leather. It's really not an issue at all to wear leather out here. Animals wouldn't be attracted by it unless they were really, really close by. That said, if you left some leather boots outside your room at night, unless they were Brent Leo Smiths, in which case no self-respecting hyena would touch them. But certainly if you were to leave your normal shoes outside, definitely what would happen is that the hyenas would come and take them and eat them. And many, many people have lost boots to hyenas over the years because they've left them outside after a long day out in the bush. Right, the drone is making its way to the hyena. I can see it there. Here it comes. Right, we're going to go across to the drone view, and VM is now going to try and find the hyena from where he is at the moment. And you can see there that you can, well, oh right, there he is on the right hand side of the frame there. You can see him just between the trees, and VM will go over the top there and see if he won't stay still while we look at him. So I'm looking at him over the top of the screen here, and the hyena is now fascinated. He's looking up at the drone. He won't be afraid of it, but he'll be interested and perhaps a little concerned that there might be a giant swarm of bees coming to visit him. There he is. Isn't that lovely? And again, I'm just amazed by how when we're standing on the ground it looks tremendously green, and when we cut back to Scott's shot you'll be able to see that how green it looks from one side, and then look how green that looks compared with the shot that VM's got. And that's simply because the grass and the forbs that are growing on this clearing are actually so sparse. Right, so VM will now just show you where we are in relation to the hyena. There the hyena, oh look at the colour on that, isn't that just spectacular? That's just so beautiful. Wonderful hyena. And now you can see vaguely where we are. Oh no, you can't. No, you can't. I don't know what VM's looking at there. Ah, there we go. Yes, no, that's the final control there. And we can see, oh right, there we are, we can see the people there. That's the fireside chat. Eugene and Louise and VM sitting there. Wonderful shot there of where we're sitting. There's the tent. And we'll have a quick look at the sunset. We'll have a slow look at the sunset. There we go. Look at the golden light here covering this beautiful clearing. Wonderful. And there is the setting sun. This is very difficult, of course, because VM has no control over the camera. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's just beautiful. Wowee. What a sunset after a fairly blustery, cold, not very nice day. And very beautiful hyena, golden light. And Pretty Nightmare, you're absolutely correct. The hyenas love to go into the garbage at the lodges, as evidenced by Eugene's find today. Eugene found, of course, a fork that was stolen by a hyena earlier at an earlier time. Sometimes if we don't close the gate at night, the hyenas will come in and they'll pull the dustbin over and they'll take out bits and pieces that might have a little bit of taste to them. They normally then spit them out and strew them about the place like they did with that fork. So we need to be quite careful of it. And the other animals that do that, of course, were the animals that Brent was looking for today on his walk. Those honey badgers, they love to come into camp and raid a whole lot of dustbins. Right, let's go back to Hayden after we've had a look at this incredible sunset. Isn't that just magnificent? And also cast in the golden light of that sunset is Hayden Turner, erstwhile visitor from originally Australia, now England, and wonderful to have him back here. He's in the drainage line now, and let's go and see what he has to show us.
folks, we've been up and down this drainage line a few times now. The direction that leopard was walking was this way. The drainage lines that the leopard were in are all leading to this drainage line, which then goes on to another dam. So maximising your chances by going up and down this dry riverbed is a really, really good thing. The time is perfect, and what will happen is leopard use these drainage lines or these dry riverbeds to navigate their way through and then pop up onto a little level area where they could come across potential prey. So they sort of skulk down these drainage lines, and then they look up, and then there might be impala or something else, a kudu or something like that, feeding there, and unsuspectingly they have a win. So the stealth of and beauty and strength of leopard are what is so sort of mesmerising, I suppose. They are, to me, and I always like to say this, they are the epitome of strength and beauty and stealth and style and just they're just such an incredible cat. Yeah, I love them. We all love them, but it's encapsulated in this body of a cat, and it's, when you come across them, your heart races. My heart's sort of pumped now because you don't know what's around the next corner, and driving through here you just don't know. So we'll keep going. Pete's gone up to another area to cover that as well, but this is what we do. This is why we do it, because of the excitement of potentially whatever. We turn around that bend and there could be a leopard, and that to me is what it's all about. And what stunning things to see. Like, just this is what the brilliant thing about SafariLIVE is. A hyena can just come walking past the tent there like that, and that just happens, and it's just it's just brilliant. It's so stimulating, it's so exciting, and we love it. We love it, folks, and we love that you love it as well. Where was it in all our lives that we got our love nature switch flicked on? I don't know, but it happened to all of us watching, and all of us that love doing this, somewhere, sometime in our life. And we'll talk more about that. It's just really, really... well, it's good to know that great minds think alike. Look who I found here. I just said to everyone watching, a couple of times, so we're just telling everyone watching that maximising our chances here. You gave us the lead, mate, that you might have thought it came down here. So I've just gone up to Spaghetti Junction there once, turned around, come down Pete's.
We walked up Mamba and then went back down Leadwood. So nothing coming out this side yet. So we'll just have a little sneaky peek past here.
Okay.
Good luck.
We're going to cross back over to Pete and see what he's up to, guys. We'll see you guys. Thanks. Cheers.
Well, as you've been seeing from other viewpoints as well, it is that time of the evening when it's absolutely stunning, and the sky and the colours, the blues and the pinks and the shapes of the trees, the sounds of the bush that's alive around us. This is what safari is about. This is what going out into nature for a game drive is about. All the different experiences, all the senses alive, the sounds, the smells. At the moment, there's not a great deal of smell at the moment specifically, but it's that general taste, if you want, of evening approaching. It's cooling down a little bit. The air in your skin starts to feel soft and satin-like. And you can just look around and let your mind wander. Absolutely love that. More colourful view. think we can all certainly agree that the addition of the drone and the perspective it's given us has just been awesome. Really fantastic to see this, fantastic to see it from this perspective. Very good. Sunset Safari. Very apt explanation or name for it tonight. There the smell was good. We're just going through a low-lying area, one of these drainage lines, and obviously the air is cooler in the lower parts of the habitat here, or the area we're driving in. It will be slightly warmer up where the drone is. Stunning. Oh, sorry, bumpy. Hello Danny, nice to have you on drive from Chicago. Danny, you were just wondering what's the most exciting or my favorite moment I've had on live drive and my most embarrassing. Wow, I'll tell you what jumped to mind, although it wasn't embarrassing, but I didn't really get embarrassed, I think. Oh, look at that sky. Sorry, we've looked at the sky now, but that's just crazy. Danny, I'll answer your question just now, but that's just stunning. We'll try and get some shapes into that background for you just now. A tree or some leaves or something is always nice, but that is just unbelievable colors. Wow. And that line that you can see, even though it looks like a mountain, it's actually cloud over the escarpment. That is just spectacular. Let's try and find something to showcase that against. Genre, if you see something you like, shout. Some leaves or a twig or a tree. Danny, so that's not a bad tree, that shape. Yeah, I don't really get embarrassed because I consider all of you on the vehicle as friends, even those of you I don't know. There's a nice little shape against the horizon. So it's the ignition playing up. Where we're sitting now, I mean literally 30 yards from where we're sitting watching this spectacular sky, I had what would be the closest thing to an emotional breakdown, I guess, live on screen during a television drive. I think it was a television drive, I can't remember. When my daughter said hello to me, it was at the end of quite a long stint. I'd been away from home for a long time. We'd slept very little, we'd worked very hard, and I just got so emotional. My daughter said hello to me and I couldn't speak for a while. Those of you that were there with me on that day, it was quite a special experience, and I guess that could be embarrassing for many people, but for me it's just the way it is. It's just life. More importantly, it's live, and those two things are very close together for me. And it was a great experience. In fact, if I look back on it now, it's one of the greatest experiences I've had live, and what I learned personally from it in terms of sharing and being able to share emotions with people on the vehicle, and as I said, Danny, and that includes you, even though it sounds like you might be new to the SafariLIVE experience. I have friends on this vehicle, and I look at all of you as people that share not only a common passion for wildlife, the same as I do, but also share a space with me and do so willingly, and I do so willingly. So embarrassment is something you only can really feel, I guess, if you're worried about what other people would think about you at that stage. In terms of favorite moments, Danny, if you got about a year or so to sit and listen, because I can just rattle them off. I can think of 10 right now, just off the top of my head. Just close to here, the first live drive we had to television last year, we had that incredible moment, or moments, with a leopard Kunyuma, a young male, following him, walking right into our fireside chat. Hayden sitting at the fire, leopard in the front. Aina chased it up into a tree. We were sitting under the tree, drove around to the fire, sat next to Hayden chatting about the day, with a leopard literally sitting in a tree behind us. That's one I'll remember for a long time. The very next day, live safari, had a lion kill against all odds because they'd already killed a few buffalo. They were full. But then just some sunsets I've seen. This one, talking about memories and experiences, just look at the layers there. Look at the bushveld in the front, that dark layer of cloud over the escarpment, and the higher up clouds catching the last of the rays of the sun as the earth is turning. I mean, that's just perfect right there. I've also had some great experiences just with driving, and what I mean by that, Danny, is this one now. You're asking me this question at this time, and we've got this incredible sky, and we're close to one of my favorite parts of Djuma, up where the tent is. We've had some amazing experiences there. But one of my favorite experiences was the last drive I did just a month ago before flying out, and then obviously before coming back and seeing you guys again now. That last drive, the television drive, we had 1 hour, and that leopard kill we found minutes into the hour. Impala was still breathing and kicking when we got there. The hyena started to weigh. I mean, the odds of that happening is 1 in a million. That was a great experience, but just because the energy levels, it was just insane. That was a good one. But so many drives. I always say this about safaris, Danny, is, the safari, yes, it is about finding lion and elephant. That plays a role. But a safari is about so much more. It's about the experience of being out here. Everything from flying here to driving here to flying in to getting out, smelling the hot air of the bush around you, hearing lions roar, listening to the bugs, seeing a thunderstorm, driving along, not saying anything, just enjoying the space around you, looking at the sunset, all those things. So ultimately, I think my favorite moment on SafariLIVE or on live safaris would have to be that experience, that moment we're sharing right now. That will never be shared again because it's past, and we can never know what the next moment will be because it's in a very real future. And as you know, the future, you can't really tell what it's going to be. So maybe my very favorite moment of a SafariLIVE experience, my favorite moment of being on Game Drive with you is right now, being here doing this. That could have to be my highlight from the experience I've gained in this. Thanks for that question, Danny. I like it. Hello, Fiona. Now, Danny, that would show you that Fiona's been on drives with us a few times. She's just asking out of the UK if I've smelt a potato bush. Funny enough, I haven't. That dip back there that I said we're going through a dip, which is at Philemon's dip, is what we call it. It's one of the places you always smell potato bush. But the potato bushes will start smelling more now as we go into summer because they'll start growing again, more water available to them. So quite soon we'll smell that. And just to explain it, Danny, sorry, I keep referring to you now, Danny, but Danny could almost be from Ireland, I guess, with a name like that. And Fiona was asking about the potato bush, but it smells just like boiling potatoes. I mean, like, you will not tell the difference. I've driven through dips and low-lying areas in the evenings going home like we are now and being a bit hungry. Oh, there's a zebra crossing. Another one. And you would start salivating when you smell the potato bushes because you're so hungry heading home. So it smells just like potato, but it doesn't have potatoes on it. Let me just find the spotlight. So that's what Fiona was referring to. We're going to start using the spotlight just to explain a little bit. Generally speaking, we don't view diurnal animals too much with the spotlight. A little bit of looking at them is not a problem. We try and keep the light out of their faces as well. Their eyes recover very quickly. It's not like with us. If I had to put this in my eyes, I would drive into things for the next half an hour because I wouldn't be able to see. But for diurnal animals like zebra, impala and so forth, it affects them a little bit. To be honest with you, I've looked at them many times. They still run, they still do their thing. You just mustn't put this right in their faces. So when you're driving for the night drive, if we do see something that we wouldn't normally bother with a light, we'll just take it away. Although it's not quite dark yet, so again, it wouldn't affect it much. This is the herd of impala we saw earlier. You can see they're all spread out here. There's some more. Still busy grazing and getting some food. Oh, here's the sort of the bulk or the main body of the herd. Now this herd of impala and their ancestors before them, we've seen often. They like this area. They often come and stay here. And during this season, which is the lambing season, which also falls over the same time frame as Big Cat Week, we see impala in this area often. and often we will see activity of predators around these impala as well. I'm going to stick around this area a little bit. Hey Maggie. Yes, Maggie's from Scotland. Guys, I just love this. You know, it's something I've talked a lot about with the guys here as well. I remember last visit, I sort of go through these different experiences when I come in. One of the ones, sorry, this is typical me, late in the drive, I start rambling on. Maggie, what I'm trying to get to is, firstly, I love the fact that so many of you have been on drive so many times. So you can actually help me remember great stories because we've shared those moments. Maggie's just referring to a time I was driving to Rexon and Tamani, a good friend of mine. He great sense of humor. And we were driving and we thought we'd seen a pangolin. Now, a pangolin is like, you can call it a scaly anteater if you want. Very, very cool animals. You don't see them. I mean, I've seen them twice in my life, and I've spent a lot of time in the bush. Very rare to see them. Very interesting and strange in a cool way. And both of us thought we'd seen a pangolin. We got super excited. I get excited when I see things that I get excited about. So I think it was probably obvious, Maggie, as you can remember. And when we got closer, it was what we'd seen. There were two tortoises who were mating, and tortoises are quite funny when they're mating. So it was quite a laugh. When you started telling the question, Maggie, I almost thought you were referring to the time we found the brown hyena, which is also very exciting. The first time in, remind me if you can remember, I think it was something like 17 years or something ridiculous, that a brown hyena had been confirmed as a confirmed sighting in Sabi Sands. We'd actually filmed it, so it couldn't be disputed. Yeah, just so many things. I remember, let's random memories. I was just thinking about a drive once with Leishan, my wife now, who was on the drive with me. She was on camera. I was driving this vehicle, the Jigga. We were looking for Karula and the two boys. I think it was Mishon and Duna, if I remember correctly, in the drainage line just below the dam wall of Voitela. And I got us stuck. Now, any of you guys who have done some off-road driving, especially with your wives while you're on holiday, if you get stuck, it's sometimes quite fun and sometimes not quite fun. I don't like getting stuck, but I like to go to places where inevitably you might get stuck, because that means you're really exploring. Anyway, we're trying to find this leopard. We went in this really funny dip and I got the car really badly stuck. Now, to get these vehicles stuck is not an easy thing, but I got us sort of into the mud. The two leopards were not far away, the two young leopards and Karula, just in the bush. We could see them. They were quite thick stuff watching us, and I had to climb out and I had to wedge logs under the tires and jack the car out. It was a long thing. Leishan sort of chuckled a little bit nervously and a little bit having fun, but we got the vehicle out. That's a memory that I haven't thought about for a while. So again, from your question earlier, Danny, nice to walk down memory lane a bit, and my voice is busy going away, which is a good sign. It means I'm getting it back into shape, and Hayden's going to give you a little bit of a memory or two as well. So enjoy that, Hayden. I might see you before the end of drive, I might not as well. If I don't, have a lovely day, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Enjoy Hayden's talk.
Wow. That's what we see here in Africa, and every single time that vision is upon you, it's different, and it stops you in your tracks, leaves you breathless. The colours, it's just incredible, and tonight was one of the most beautiful sunsets I've seen in a long time. So Pete's, you've heard a few stories from Pete here, and Danny in Chicago wanted to know what one of my favourite moments was and one of my most embarrassing moments. Let's start with the favourite moment first. I think I have to probably agree with Pete on that Kanuma in the tree situation, which was totally out of control. Like, we did not know. How could you ever think that our first fireside chat, where we were going to cross live and Peter was going to join me at the fire, could ever be a hyena walking towards the leopard walking towards me. Got a great photograph of Peter took of me talking to camera over in the fire with smoke, and Kanuma the leopard in the foreground. It's a beautiful shot, and I'm very lucky to have it. So that was one of my favourites as well. I had a couple of elephant encounters that I just will never forget. Individuals, particularly breeding herds, that have accepted you as you're not a threat. And I spent one time down the other side of Djuma with a herd that just got so close, and the matriarch was like so close to the vehicle and completely trusting us. All the animals were around us, and we were committed to that situation. But the trust and the understanding there was quite an extraordinary thing, to think that those animals of that power could just tolerate us and just include us in their habitat or their environment for the time. The first time I saw my leopard, Q, or Quarantine as he's known, way back, was probably one of those situations where I just didn't believe that on my first drive, 2 blocks, I remember I was only going around one particular area to stay safe because I didn't know the roads. I pretty much got thrown into it. It's the best way to learn sometimes. And I came around a corner, and with VM was on camera with me, and sure enough, there was Quarantine lying in the cool sand on a really, really hot morning. And it was about this time last year that it happened. Extraordinary thing, and you know, your heart skips a beat. You don't believe your double take. Leopard or something incredible. The lion situations, all the big cats that we've had here, but one situation with a wild dog. My favourite, probably, the predator sort of. It's one of those creatures that I cannot sort of get enough of. The frantic activity when you're on the hunt with wild dog, there feels like nothing else on the planet. You don't want to be anywhere else except with those wild dog, following those wild dog, the frantic hunt, the chase, the way that they move, the colours, their painted coat going through the vegetation. It is just true sort of it bangs home basically how good those animals are. The markings on them, they're quite distinct. You'd see them running through, so it's not camouflage they're going after. That speed and that agility, and just being with them and feeling like you're part of that hunt is a very, very special thing. So that's lots of my great memories. But one special memory was with a viewer, and that was way back, and my memories I've just gotten back on the vehicle, so I can't actually remember the little girl's name, but it really does escape me right now. But there was a lovely girl that called in with her grandmother a while back, and I think her name was Gracie. It was way back, and she was a very, very special little girl, and she said some things that were really, really important to her life and her grandmother with her special needs. So that was a very, 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 very cool thing. My most embarrassing moment, ever so quickly before I wrap up and say goodbye and link back, I just got to figure out who I'm linking to now, because I can't quite remember since I'm banging out. So it was this time where I came to Djuma waterhole, Viatella waterhole, and there was a herd of elephants in the dam swimming around, but I could only see trunks and tops of heads, and they were rolling around. And I'm talking about this breeding herd, banging on about it, how incredible the behaviour was, and the matriarch, and how beautiful it was. About 9 individuals, and they all got out and walked up the bank, and there was some obvious things that told me that they were boys. Yeah. Right. So on that note, I'm going to cross to the tent and leave you with that. Yeah. Anyway, it's been fantastic this afternoon, guys, and really, really love you all. Thank you very much for all the welcome backs and being here again and watching Safari Live. And remember, let's get these kids into this as much as we possibly can. It's been beautiful, and hopefully I'm going to see you tomorrow. Take care from Andrew and I. We'll see you then.
Stunning. Look at that. That is the scorpion that we've been looking at, and well, his pincer and his tail, and I'm told by the cameraman today, who is of course Scott Dyson, that that is a result of something called a hyaline layer that is in the exoskeleton of the scorpion. And before we discuss it any further, you've had a look at it now with the light like this. Let's hit the lights back on and you can see the difference. Oh, you can't because Scott's in the way. Let's just move out the way there, and then you can see the difference in the color. Now what we're doing is we're shining a UV light onto bits and pieces of this scorpion, and the hyaline layer, which reflects UV light, is probably a little bit like that flower that we were looking at, that devil's thorn flower, which reflects UV light, and perhaps, I'm sure other scorpions can see that light. It might be to attract predators, at least not predators, might be to attract mates, or it might be to attract prey, much the same way that the flower does. It attracts insects. Scorpions can be voracious insect eaters, so it might be to attract the insects, but nobody's really sure why they have that hyaline layer in the exoskeleton that makes them glow and reflect that amazing UV color. Spectacular stuff. Right, that was the scorpion. That was all the amazing things that we've seen today, and I'm just going to show you one more thing here quickly. Where has he gone? Here, a cricket. Just before we go into the night, you can see a cricket there, and the crickets, of course, this is their time now. They'll come out and they'll start stridulating those great big, oh sorry, we're not doing so well with the light here, there we go. Start stridulating his legs together and making those wonderful sounds of the summer night that we're going to hear just now. So thank you everybody for being with us in our little tent today. We've had a wonderful time looking at lots of different things, small things, not many large things, although we did see that wonderful hyena. Thank you all the collectors, Eugene and Louise. Viam was flying the drone, Scott was on camera and collecting, Steph was collecting a bit today, Teb's on camera. Big thank you to the ladies in the final control, and we had some questions in the tent today, which was really lovely. Please send them through again tomorrow. We're going to hand over to Peter now, and he will say goodbye to you until tomorrow morning. Stay safe and happy wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you then. Bye bye, and thank you very much.
Just look at that sky. Even though the bright, rich colors are gone, we are sitting with those last bit of sort of softer colors of the setting sun, or the set sun. Nice big marula tree. We're actually quite close to the tent where you've been with James looking at various things. Last, I believe, very fittingly, the crickets that are starting to sing their songs for the night, or chirp their chirps. On my side, it's been a lovely afternoon. I mean, it's not been... Sorry, I was just getting a question there. It's been a great afternoon for me, actually, even though we didn't find the leopard, even though we didn't necessarily find the big animals we always look for. It's a good reminder as well that great safari really is about the company you have, which you guys are the best company in the world, literally. And it's about the experience of being out there. I mean, the sky tonight was magnificent. We'd seen it from various angles, various places, with various people telling you about it. That's part of the experience. So it's been great for me in that respect. Nice just to settle in as well. For Hayden as well to be back on drive. Christine, you were just asking quickly before we say goodbye, what animals would my children like to see? My daughter would like to see all of it. She'd actually love all the bugs. She's really into insects and things at the moment, but then she also likes the big animals. She loves dogs. She's very close to our dogs, so I think wild dogs would be awesome for her. And leopard and lion, I mean, I've been on game drive with her. She always just wants to go and say, I want to go, Papa, kan ek uitklim en gaan vat? She always says, can I get out and go and sit with them? Because she wants to always sort of get close to them. And great to have them on drive as well. So together with you guys being on safari with us, fantastic to have my family joining as often as they can. My wife Leisha and I was just chatting with Jean-Ray about her and the 2 kids. So it's awesome to share this experience. And I think that tonight's drive highlighted that in some respect. Otherwise, not much else. Jean-Ray, fantastic to be on the vehicle with you. Thank you. Looking forward to more of it. And of course, most importantly, you guys, thank you for making it possible for me and for everyone else to be out here doing this. Looking forward to tomorrow again. We're going to see you again on Safari Live. Bye-bye.